Welcome everybody to today's stream. Hope you had a nice day so far. And yeah, let's have some fun together, I guess. And we are doing some fractals now. I'm playing some power build here because I think this fractal is actually rather decent to play this special elect DPS build. You have a lot of boon strips, and this boss has a lot of boons potentially, especially with no pain no gain. And it's just a very strong elect DPS option. Your uptime is not that great if you don't fight all the time, so that's a problem, but you will see the CC is amazing and damage potential is also quite high. What? Did that hit me? Not a good start so far, but I really dislike that the character turns around when you ground target stuff on yourself. Sometimes that's really annoying. It really killed me a lot in this fractal. This fractal is, I don't really like it that much. But if you try this or kill this boss the first time in challenge mode, I don't mind it. But if you have to retry it because someone is dead or something, it's really annoying. Maybe I should do a fractal tier list at some point. You see I stripped already 3 wounds here. Just from the no pain, no pain. No pain, no pain. And debuff. And now we have to do this. Yeah. It's a good build here, but I can't upkeep the alacrity perfectly, so it's not the best build in that sense. Typically you want a build that is heavily overcapping here, because we have to spread all the time, especially in the later stages of this fractal. So yeah, it's a good build here because you deal a lot of damage. You can see I almost get my 3rd DPS player here just from my damage, which is really nice. But it might not be the best option when it just comes to the utility and the overall performance of this build. So you should aim in this fight at least 90% of damage of boon uptime in this fractal, and I only have 87. So it's not completely bad at the moment, but it will get worse sadly in the next stages just because there will be more splits happening. If you have any questions, please let me know. A lot of people, especially newer players, obviously don't know about fractal CMs. I can tell you a little bit about the mechanics, but anything else is also fine, of course. If you have any questions, comments, feedbacks, please let me know. You can see that we have a celestial support, so it's not even a full support in that sense. And you can see that the damage output that boss has is actually not that high here. So you can easily survive here with the celestial healer, which obviously drastically increases the damage output that our group has. At least if you don't die. As soon as you start dying because of the decreased healing of your party, then of course that's not worth it. But I think it's important to know, especially in fractals, but in all raid fights as well, how much healing you need, so that you can assign a special gear sets and roles to your healers and alacrity, DPS and that kind of stuff, so that you optimize the fight even in that standpoint. I think if you know enough about how the fight works, I think that makes a lot of sense. Another example would be Mo, so Mossad Overseer on raids. There is also not a lot of pressure, so you can typically run on one healer or something like that. That's always a great thing to understand. You can see my CT is really good here. Okay, and I should have touched that. Just woke up, it's a little bit... My brain is still sleeping half of the time, so bear with me here. Oh, we didn't get this CC. Sad. Bit careful here with movement skills. It might be that the boss is teleporting, and as soon as this guy is teleporting, you will maybe port down. Welcome, Roderick. Yeah, this is CM. I always do all the CMs that I can do, or that I find parties to do with, just because CMs are way more rewarding. And for example, for this fractal, the CM is even faster than the normal mode. So if you know what you're doing, it's the better option for sure. It gives you more rewards, and it's yeah, faster. I think it's also a little bit more exciting because I don't like to jump around in the beginning. It's just annoying me over the mushrooms and that kind of stuff. So in the last phase of this boss, you now have to look away because he has the eye mechanic while he's doing the jump mechanic. So that's just annoying. It's just we have to wait until this guy is done with all of its attacks. But as soon as he's done, we can continue fighting him, and yeah, should not be a big problem. And he's porting away again. So this is the annoying part where you just have to, yeah, he ports and you can't really have a lot of damage uptime here. That's why a power build or is typically not run in this fractal, just because you have so little damage uptime and he still gets damage from conditions. So, and you can often damage them from range, this demon. But you can see it's really easy. Yeah, I mean, 96 is obviously, would say, the first you get into, but I think as soon as you get into one fractal CM, you can also do the other ones. It's not like it's way harder. You just have to learn the mechanics and slowly progress up your unstable fractal essence amount so that you can get in, let's say, a little bit higher effort groups. And in the end, it's all of them are doable with pucks easily. Yes, I would say even 100 CM, which is considered not the hardest, but a little bit of, how can I tell, the hardest to puck at least, yeah, fractal. Even that you can easily do in packs if you have enough understanding of the fight. I think it's really important. The 100 CM is, if I would be so bold to say, it's probably one of the easiest CMs if you have enough damage. And oftentimes in packs you don't have that, and that's a bit of a problem. Yeah. So we got it, you see, it's not that hard. And it's also, I would say, decently fun. So, if you have any questions, please let me know. Always. I try to explain, of course, what I'm doing, but it's sometimes I have to concentrate, and I don't especially know what exactly you already know, so it's not completely straightforward in that sense. So here again, we have no pain or gain, so a lot of boons on the enemies. Stripping them, especially on any build that can do that baseline, is amazing. So I have this trait. That means whenever I CC, I remove 2 boons, and I have a lot of CC. Yeah, and this also removes boons. So this removes boons, baseline, and CCs. So it's really good. I'm using currently the Electronomancer build because we have a Celestial Firebrand, which provides quickness. I can explain Sanqua, yeah. So this has 2 phases. We will start in the first phase, which is the day phase, so to say. And this time we just damage her as fast as we can and try to maybe CC her on site because we have a lot of DPS. Okay, I guess my party doesn't do that. Normally you can do that if you have enough. If your party has enough damage, you CC her on site. Otherwise you just DPS her down. and now you spread. It's always the same mechanics. I know exactly what will happen, just because it will always be exactly the same. So now we spread, and we go back in the middle, just DPS here. Now would be the time, if you don't reach 66% in time, you have to CC this break, but otherwise you get a lot of damage and might even die to it. But we reach 66, so we face her, and she goes invulnerable, and the first fire, or the only fire phase normally happens. So typically one guy puts a portal down. We run out to the edge of the arena and stack together, wait until the meteors all come down, and we portal back into the middle. So the portal that we use is this white mantle portal device here. It's really helpful in fractals, so every single class can place a portal, not only Mesmer. You will see why in a second. She spawns now, but there are the meteors still coming down. We wait here until they drop on us, and we port back and just deal a lot of damage and can, so to say, use perfect damage uptime in this phase. And as soon as this red ring reaches the outer walls, we will get damage. Normally you have to hide behind this meteor, but we don't, because you can troll a bit and stack in front of it, and it has the same effect. So now our teammate died. That's obviously not very wanted, but I guess we have to deal with it. It's always the same. She does it out to the outer edge and then to the inner center, and we have to split again. And at 33% she goes invulnerable again. Now we go into the water phase, and in the water phase, we can place a portal, doesn't matter. It's not like it's increasing our DPS or something. So we get pushed out to the outside, we port in, and we have to stand in the green circles together because it does a lot of damage. This tether is really important that you interrupt it, because you will get stacks of tidal bargain, and this stacks, you can see it here, at 10 will deal heavy damage and root you and stuff, so it's really important that you interrupt it before that happens, so that you share the burden. And when that is correctly done, you don't get that much damage. If you don't do it correctly, it's often a wipe, or at least all of the people go down stat. So try to avoid that. It's not difficult, but it's always the same with fractals. If you see someone that does it correctly, it looks very easy. But if you have party members or even yourself not doing stuff correctly, it gets hard really easily. You see, someone in our party is always dying, so that's not normally happening. I don't have received that much damage, so that should not happen, but it happens sometimes. So again, spreading, doing the same thing. Really important to note is when you have to CC, because now we reach 1 or 0% before we have to CC, but after this attack, she will do another attack that is really heavily damaging us, so we should CC before that. Now we killed her in the first phase. Now we GG to speed up the process of getting to the next phase, because the next phase has some roleplay in between. We respawn. That will bring her instantly to the next phase after you killed her, of course. This phase is very important that you have a lot of CC, so that's why I bring more. And now we just go in. Now she has different attacks, and this is only happening in CM. So now we have to do the same. She's dashing out, but there's a light show going on at the same time. And yeah, we just damage her. Now she dashes not to the middle until 66%, so we have to be a little bit aware what we are doing here. Spreading again, it's always the same idea here. And of course, Toxic Signet is a little bit annoying, but what can you do? Welcome, Ori. Hope you had a nice day so far. I'm just starting my day with some fractals and some streaming. I hope you enjoyed it. Again, we try to get her to 66 so that she rushes in. Perfect. Now we get her, so to say, a little bit stationary and can deal with this Sorrow. We have to CC it before we get one-shot, because it's spawning a one-shot attack, and we did that perfectly fine. So the first phase is really easy. We just stand here and kill those guys, or kill her. And now there are those spheres spawning. They're invulnerable. They are targeted on one player and follow it. As soon as they reach it, they will explode and stun you for forever almost. So never get touched by those. So that's the attack that I meant. As soon as the red circle here appears, you have to CC her. Otherwise you get a lot of damage if you're melee range. So now we are under the 33% health mark. Now we have to CC 2 of those sorrows. Typically DPS go right side and supports go left side. So I'm a support, so that's why I went to left side. But if I use 2 Moas on it, it would be one shot. What is the break bar? Because as soon as the break bar is gone, the sorrow despawns. And you can see I almost got our second or third DPS. From my DPS side, I had a lot of CC and I had 24 strips. So it definitely a good build here. And the boon uptime was almost 100%, so perfect, I would say. Very good. That's the power of a well-played Alacrity DPS in this fight, because you actually deal a lot of damage, and if you know what you're doing with the CC and the boon strips here, this fight is over really fast, and it's I think one of the best fractal CMs because it's really entertaining. You have a lot of different aspects to worry about, and it's not that hard if you know what you're doing. I mean, yeah. Yeah, no problem. I'm always happy if I can explain stuff, especially if you ask me for it, then I know that you want explanation on a particular part. Again, we will do all the dailies, of course, and do the CMs that we didn't do yet. This one is, I would say, also a very fun CM, the whole fractal. However, it's definitely a little bit... I think this is the hardest one to learn because there are a lot of mechanics and intricacies that you have to understand. And it's not just a boss fight anymore. But yeah, it's fine, I guess. I can explain as much. So CC here first. And we just deal a lot of damage. Typically this is... Now we are getting in power territory. You can see I'm second best DPS here because I know how to deal with the mechanics and stuff. But this is heavily power favored. So if you're playing Condi build, that's not worth it. You will completely be outperformed just because there are so many phases, ads and stuff happening. That's really, really bad. And power is just optimal in fractals except in the highest challenge modes. So really important that you have at least one power build that you can perform if you're DPS build. But again, we can here use the portal to go back to the boss faster. That helps of course a lot with our damage uptime because he's stunned in the first few seconds. And then he will bash around, which is really annoying. So typically you want to damage him before or phase him to the next phase before he does that. We didn't have enough damage, so that's fine. We just have to wait a little bit longer. Again, we can use another portal here if we want. Yeah, nice. Yeah, Tempest is very... Don't get me wrong. Tempest nerfs, I would say, is a little bit sad that they nerfed it. I think I totally get that. But don't worry, I think there will be definitely another strong build for Tempest. I think Tempest will not be complete garbage after the patch. I think it will just have a little bit of a lower benchmark, but in the end it will still be totally fine to play on Fractus, for example. It's not like you need to have 47k DPS and that kind of stuff to succeed here. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite a big nerf. I agree. I think that's not completely understandable to me why it has to be like that. But I mean, they are the developers and that's just how it goes. I can't change that. Yeah. But like I said, I think if you are a Tempest main and you enjoy that, you can still play it after the patch and don't have any problem. Of course, it's not like you are the best DPS build anymore, but sometimes changes happen. For example, I really like Power Virtuoso. This gets hit as well, so I'm not sure if I will play Power Virtuoso after the patch or if I will play Power Mirage, for example, or something else. Yeah, I agree. I think it's annoying, especially for people that don't have all the expansions and stuff. So I totally get that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying I can't change what the developers' decisions are. I can just say it's how it goes. That sometimes builds get nerfed that you are a fan of. That's just sad, but it will happen at some point. Yeah, but I hope they will at least reconsider the decision of nerfing it and maybe making a little bit of the adjustments to the numbers, that it's not too much. But yeah, I mean, that's true. If you don't have Chancellor Waltz and you don't have a spear, then it's getting a little bit harder to get builds going that you can play. But they nerf a lot of the spear damage builds. For example, Mesmer gets nerfed on spear. So that means that spear will not always be the optimal weapon anymore. That means that you might find a build, for example, for Mesmer that you can play. Or, for example, no Reaper will still use spear. It's a little bit hard. I agree. I think a lot of power builds nowadays actually use spear. So I would agree that this might be a big problem in that sense. But I mean, what can you do? You have to adjust to the situation. It's always the case. So now again, it's just to see the clones here. Oh, how much is there left? That's sad. I think it's interesting that they nerf some damage builds like Power Tempest, and for example Power Mesmer, Power Virtuoso, Condi Virtuoso, that kind of damage builds. That's interesting that they nerf it. But at the same time, they, for example, let builds like... So we faced probably before that, so the bomb goes away. I hate that I was blinded and I couldn't remove it. That's annoying. Yeah, I hate that they nerf some builds and not all of them. And that means in the end we have a weird situation where sometimes some builds are still overperforming and getting to 46k DPS, while other builds got completely nerfed and are just around 40 or something. And that is in the end not fair, especially when you don't have all the expansions and stuff. You don't have that much choice what builds to run. So yeah, I get that. They nerf Spear of Mesmer and they nerf Spear of Elementalist. However, they at the same time buff Spear of Elementalist. The Elementalist Spear was in a weird spot that it was really hard to achieve the highest benchmarks, especially on a normal fight, because it was just so hard to get the etchings right, you know, where you have to stand in the circles and get all the attacks going. And now they fix some of the issues with the etchings. That means you can actually get them done in a normal fight. And that means that in the end, you will, even with the damage to spear, even then, you will probably have enough damage to make this build better than it was before in most situations. So I think that is a fine change. But when it comes to the nerfs to Scepter, I think I would totally agree. I think it's a little bit sad that Scepter is just outclassed now by the other builds anymore. Yep. I didn't even look what fractals today are daily, so let's see. Oh, I'm doomed. So you can use actually this AoE attack here to deal more damage if you position it correctly. I think that's a really fun thing, but otherwise the Flux Bomb is really annoying. In this fight you can actually use the Flux Bomb to, if you just jump up because of the decreased gravity, you can actually despawn the flux bomb in the correct time. That's really fun. Again, at 30% he goes away, so we can just face him before anything happens. Yeah, I agree. I think Mesmer is really interesting. They nerf it in PvE, but in PvP, the spear is completely untouched. That means if you enjoy it in the competitive modes, it's completely fine. You have no issue at all. So it will definitely be the correct thing. Welcome, Henfire, welcome. Hope you had a nice day so far. Just woke up a little bit 1 hour ago or so and did start some fractals and stream it now. So hope you enjoyed so far. We were discussing a little bit of the spear or the balance changes, because I think a lot of people are really annoyed. I read it in my YouTube comments from yesterday's video that a lot of people, especially Elementalist enjoyers, are really annoyed at the changes to Elementalist, because it was a few months now since it was buffed to that extent that it's playable Fresh Air Scepter, and now they nerf it completely. And a lot of people are really annoyed that they are just not letting Elementalist players enjoy the strong spec. I to some extent get that. I wouldn't say it's completely dead in that sense, but I get why people are annoyed by that. That it's, especially also for example, a lot of people are complaining about the Frost Aura nerfs in World vs. World because support Tempest was in a decent spot. Yes, that's why it got nerfed. But after the nerfs, it will probably not be played, which is really sad. So, yeah, I'm not sure if that's the correct thing. I think nerfs should always be like, you change something in a way that it's still playable after the patch, but less good, less oppressive, in my opinion. This is both. We started with CMs, but we will do the normal daily fractals as well. I always do the CMs as well, just because the CMs are of course more rewarding, and if it turns out that we have some overlaps, so we have some dailies that are also CMs, it's also a very, very fast way to get even more money. Ah, okay, very interesting. Yeah, glad that you then still can enjoy my stream, even if you're at your girlfriend's place. Yeah, I mean, what can I say? Most of you either did already those fractals CMs and you know what I'm doing, and the others probably understand some of the mechanics, not all of them. It's very fast-paced if you don't know what is happening here, so I try to explain stuff, but better watch my video about the fractals, because there I show it in a little bit slower fashion and that kind of stuff. But it's really fast. I really enjoy fractal CMs, they're really nice. Yeah, see you later then, Roderick. I mean, if it works, it's really interesting. I think Guild Wars is not really needing that much resources if you play it on the lowest graphics settings. I think you can play it on rather old PCs. That's really interesting, in my opinion. Of course, even the high-end PCs can't reach 200 frames in in World vs. World fights sometimes. Yes, that's true. But if you just want to play it a little bit and on the lowest settings, I think that's actually decently viable on most PCs. I think someone actually tried it and it made it work to some extent on a... Wait, I can pull them, okay. Yeah. Normally, Mesmer focus pull is really strong here, but I didn't have it, of course, on this weapon set, so I had to a little bit adjust my rotation here, but it's fine. Someone else pulled them. So someone made it work, I think, and made a Reddit post about it a while ago, that they could play it on a Steam Deck Guild Wars 2, which is really fun because it's not made for that, of course, yeah, but they made it work. Yeah, I mean, for me, one tip I can give you if you are somewhat committed to Guild Wars 2, always put Guild Wars 2 on SSD. If you don't do that, the loading times, just in general, it's getting really annoying. So I would say this is the biggest change that you will notice if you don't have an SSD, or at least Guild Wars 2 not on it. It's really, really a big difference. And other than that, I would say if you have a strong single core performance on your CPU, it's noticeably better in that sense, because it's very CPU capped actually. So your graphics card doesn't need to be good at all. It's just about how good is your CPU and especially your single core performance. So if you know that before you buy your PC, maybe check that, but most of the people don't, of course. So that's just my... I mean, Guild Wars 2 on Steam Deck, I would say, is not the most optimal way to play it, of course. Even if it works, it's definitely not, I would say, you have so many buttons to press. I'm not sure if you can handle that on a Steam Deck. Or maybe I'm just a noob, but I would say that's not the way you should try it. But I find it funny that it works. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think, for example, if you have an SSD or something in your PC, that helps a lot, so you don't have to buy a completely new setup for that. So stuff like that might be worth considering. But like I said, I would not, if you play multiple games, I would never say, oh, we have to min-max this for that game, because I think especially modern games typically use more the graphics card and not the CPU, so it's in that sense not really worth it to just say, oh, I play Guild Wars 2 sometime, so I have to get the best CPU out there. I think that's not a smart choice. But of course, if you're like me and play a lot of Guild Wars 2, that might be worth considering, of course. Yeah, these fights are really fast. Nothing too crazy that I can say about. I think if you get a CPU that is decent and an SSD that is yeah, good, and you have some space for it, Guild Wars 2 there, and you set the graphics options to whatever is working for you, then I would say Guild Wars 2 is actually playable on a nice FPS level with a decent graphics on a low-level PC. I think it's actually not that crazy. Typically, if you have a really good group, you can instance this here and avoid this attack at all. But we don't do that here. So, why did we kill us here? We cheat just to reset our cooldowns fully. The idea here is, as soon as the full party vibes in Fractals, all cooldowns will be reset, and that helps the party to get every single attack off cooldown before we start the fight, so we can pre-stack wounds and engage the fight with full cooldown still. So that's the reason. It speeds up the stuff by a little bit, but it's not like you have to do it. It's just people see that in speedruns and it saves you 1 or 2 seconds, so that's why they do it. It's not like this matters for our fight here, but just that you know, when people say that, just join them in with the GGing, and it's helping in the end. Yeah. Yeah, it's not worth it at all if your DPS, if your fight lasts for, I don't know, 3 minutes and you save 2 seconds by doing this. Yeah, I would say it's not worth it. But if your fight or phasing times like ours are here, let's say around 30 seconds, then 2 seconds might be a time save in the end that is worth considering. Especially if everyone does it without waiting. Yeah. Welcome, Agent Scorpion, welcome. So there's There's a lot of intricacies to fractals, especially if you look at speedrunners and that kind of stuff. But if you're just someone like me that enjoys them and tries to do them daily to get some more fun out of them and just have more gold a little bit in the future, I would say those kind of stuffs you just learn over time. Yeah. Welcome to him, welcome. So if you face this guy at 15%, he will jump, so we don't have to stand in the bubble in the first one at least at all. I mean, I'm a little bit sad that our party DPS is not that great because I'm second DPS on elect DPS. So only one person is actually doing more DPS than me. Of course, 2 more should do that, but it's fine. Typically, if you have a really good group here, most of the bosses in Fractal CMs actually don't do anything. They just face all the time because you have so much burst damage. I think it's always important that you have some kind of improvement mindset. I made a video about it recently about PvP, but it also is actually to some extent worth considering the same mindset in PvE. The reason for that is I think that if you have the mindset of improving and getting a little bit better at how to deal with mechanics, getting better at how to make the fractals and strike and raids fights faster, I think that's in the end a more enjoyable experience if you have some ideas to get better at the game. So I really like that mindset, and I always try to learn more stuff about how can I improve my build, my gameplay, my whatever I'm doing to improve at it. Yeah. For example, this is a really cool thing if you have a party member that can skip, you can teleport up here and skip the weird jumping stuff. But okay, he failed. That's okay. And you can also stealth here to not trigger the mines at all. It helps also as well. Just some little details that help you progress a little bit smoother. Yeah. And of course, if you are starting out going tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, you will learn stuff when you progress it, but it's not like it's completely necessary. So now he did it. So the idea here, I think, is putting down the sword or some spirit weapon, and then you can teleport to it via merciful intervention. Now we can easily do this kind of stuff here before these light things spawn, just because we were so fast here. Helps a lot to speed up the overall fractal progression. Now we are a little bit on the time-gated activity here, which is fine. And I would say Mesmer is quite good for PvE solo. There will be a Chronomancer build guide very recently on my YouTube channel. So if you're a Chronomancer enjoyer, there will be a build guide about that. I would say if you are just going for the most optimal or best option, there is either Virtuoso is a really strong option or Mirage. Those two are the best. I would say Chronomancer is a decent one, but it's harder to play and a little bit more punishing. But Mesmer is a very decent option for open world PvE solo play. I would say it's not the best option. There are other classes out there that are a little bit better, but you don't need to have the best option out there to succeed. I think you can do every single bounty and champion that you need to do in open world solo. Even fractals are... I know people that do Fractal CM solo on some of the solo builds I'm posting. So, yeah, you can do that. Yeah, I think it's really important if you have multiple goals in Guild Wars 2 and not only grind for one of them. Like if you say, I need this legendary now, and you grind 12 hours for it, oftentimes that will just lead to burnout. If you just want to have fun and improve at the game while going for some more gold, this is the way to go in my opinion, because then you will have, at least it's less likely that you will burn out. Stuff that also helps here, for example, if you know which bosses and stuff are affected by which slaying stitches and potions, because this, for example, gives me 10% more damage against this boss here. Or at least, yeah, this boss. These Etherblade coins. That makes a lot of sense, just to increase your damage even further. it's just intricacies. It's not like it's necessary, but of course, if you know that kind of stuff and do it without a big concern about anything else, because it's just second nature to you, then it's really, really helpful. It's really increasing the speed. If everyone does that, it's crazy. I have a build actually on my YouTube, so if you just check out open world solo builds, I have a dedicated tier list about that where I talk about everything, single class, and what is good about it and what not. So just check it out. I can link it to you after this fractal. Give me a second. Here it is. That should be it. Just check it out. It's up to date. It's quite recent. What are these weapon skins? So let me show you. They are the Orin legendary skin with the Qualcatoric, yeah, I don't know, dragon thing. So it's a legendary. Qualcatoric's Claw and Qualcatoric's Fang. It's the Gen 3 legendaries that you have to first get, and then you can go for those pinkish skins where you need to do some meta events and that kind of stuff in the Path of Fire and Living World Season 4 region. So here you can skip all the harpies if you stealth, or just run through them. Stealth helps a lot. And you can of course also kill them, but for the most part it's not needed. And we can just brush here. And the other weapon skin is the new legendary spear. So it's not very fancy. I just use the legendary skins that I find fitting or like. And here we just stack in this corner to get all the enemies in one place. And yeah, that should be easily doable here. I didn't get the boon strip completely. That's fine. It's a little bit annoying sometimes with the boon strips because they don't line up perfectly with the reapplication. But it's fine. We killed them. As always, if you have any questions, please let me know. I explain the stuff that I know people might struggle with, but of course I can't know what exactly your problem is or your idea why you need some help. Please let me know. I'm always happy to help, especially if you're a new player. So after this, we actually can go for some nice skip here. If you go up this ramp and jump above here, you can actually skip the whole next climbing part, which is really fun. It will just increase your overall clearing time, or decrease it for that matter. But it's obviously not necessary in that sense. So this is an Inquest type enemy, so typically you should use Inquest killing on this boss. But I'm just not bothering for one boss to do that. So that's it. And now we can, everyone actually knows the skip, so we just go to the skip. I will show it to you. I will probably not do it on Mesmer. So if you go up to this ramp, like this guy, you jump over with the jump skill, move up there, and you skip the complete harpy jumping puzzle, and you can just teleport up here with the /GG command. It's really, it's amazing. It's such a time saver. And all classes can do that actually. You just need a jump skill that can jump over there. It's really helpful. And it's working on every single fractal level, so you don't have to think about it. Even in tier 3 fractals, you can tell your people to do that if you know this skip consistently. Really helpful. Yeah, and this next fractal is over as well. You can see if you have a party that did the CMs before, typically the normal mode fractals are going way faster because those people are more experienced and know more about how the fractal works, and it just in general goes a little bit smoother. So that's why I would always recommend you to slowly try to improve what fractals you can do if you go for more CMs and stuff, because you will end up in better groups and the overall clear time will go down and you will get more rewards. So in the end, I think it's just from a profit perspective better to go for higher level fractals and better groups, because it will improve your overall time. And of course, it's, in my opinion, also more fun to do more and challenging content that starts out challenging but will get really, really easy at some point. I don't really think about anything anymore here. Just do it. Yeah. General question. How would Wing 1 to Wing 7 and the new expansion rate and strike difficulty compare to WoW rates? So let's first compare the, because it's hard to compare, for example, every single raid wing that was released before John T. Wild's expansion and then say they are all the same difficulty, because all of them are actually not that, let's say, not all of them are very difficult, but some of them are more difficult than others. So they are in itself a little bit different, yeah. So for example, I would say strikes are easier than raids for the most part, the normal modes, yeah. So that would be normal mode in WoW raids. So the strikes typically, the normal mode strikes typically would say are easy, maybe at the same level, maybe a little bit easier than normal mode raids in WoW. When it comes to normal raids, let's say raid wing 5 to 7, I would say they are somewhat at the level of hardcore. It's a little bit hard to tell, depends on how good your party is, because if you do it completely as 10 new players, it's way harder, because there are so many mechanics to figure out. But if you know how to deal with them, then it's getting a little bit easier, yeah. And the wing 1 to 4 are somewhere in between strikes and the wing 5 to 7, just because they are less prone to fail, because you only need 2 to 3 people that actually know what they are doing. In wing 5 to 7, typically you know that you have to have at least 5 to maybe even 7 people that know what they are doing. Of course, that's a little bit more dangerous then, because if someone of those 7 people fucks up, you have to restart, yeah. So typically that's very important, that you understand the difficulty in Guild Wars 2 raids and stuff typically is only burdened on some people and not the whole party. This is not true anymore in the newest raids. So we just recently received the newest raid wing, Wing 8, so to speak. And this raid wing is harder in that sense, because every single person should know what they are doing. Otherwise, it is almost impossible to do. Not impossible, but it's getting way harder than it should be. So the newest raid wing, I would say, is actually one of the hardest raid wings, baseline, because a lot of people need to know what they are doing. And that's why I would say I would compare it to hardcore, especially if you look at challenge modes. So next release, there will be challenge modes added to raids. Those will definitely be way harder than normal mode in WoW and stuff like that. So I would say if you go for legendary challenge modes, there are currently 2 of them. They are only for strike missions, but they increase it, so to say, by 2 levels of difficulty. That means that this is comparable to Mythic. Yeah, so we have Mythic Plus actually. Yeah, so this is what I would say. I hope that answers your question. I'm not that much into WoW and understand everything there. I'm not an expert on that. I'm more a Guild Wars 2 player, but maybe in the future I can give you more feedback when I play WoW as well. So there are definitely hard fights in Guild Wars 2, but the content amount is lower in Guild Wars for sure. Okay, someone is in fight. I can't respawn. Please let me respawn. Thanks. Okay, here the idea is now we just stack on top of each other and we use our special action key to completely avoid the mechanic. Yeah, that's just how you do it nowadays. You just skip every single mechanic of this was you just stand on top of each other and use the special action key one after each other. We have to count here, that's the hardest part of the whole fractal, because of course we only have 5 special action keys. I mean, I don't know why my party is dying all the time. Doesn't look good actually, I don't know. We don't have our healer anymore, so we have to be a bit careful actually. Yeah, that is not a very good showcase of how this boss works, because now we tried to skip everything and we failed because my party just died. I don't know what they did. I did not receive that much damage. So we just have to do it normally, where you have to spread around and just fight this boss really annoyingly from range most of the time. And I don't know, it's just annoying. Yeah, there we did. Yeah, definitely. Wing 1 to 7, I would say, are more... If you know what you're doing, you can easily pack it and carry the packs, and the packs are easily... Now with the power creep, it's way more easy. When they were released, the raids, they were harder. Don't get me wrong. But Guild Wars 2 received, even though they don't have a vertical progression, we received power creep just by the expansions, increasing the amount of stuff we get. So sometimes we get new weapons and they are a little bit better than the other weapons. Sometimes we get in, for example, this relic slot increased our power creep just baseline because we got a new equipment slot. And that kind of stuff helps, of course. Yeah, but I would say Wing 1 to 7 are somewhere between normal and hardcore, and there are challenge modes and they are then hardcore, and the legendary challenge modes, which we currently have 2 of, they are, so to say, the 3rd difficulty option. They are really hard, especially at release. There you have progression, even those typical kill world first runs where you have, I think the last one took over 7 days to beat. So there is definitely something similar to Mythic Plus there. But of course, not a lot of people engage in that kind of activity, especially in a game like Guild Wars 2. Which is fine, of course. It's not like you have to do that exactly like that. Okay, let's do some strike missions after I cleaned up my inventory. But I know a lot of WoW players that play Guild Wars 2, and I'm really surprised how just fun the combat is and how you can actually impact it quite decently if you know what you're doing, the raid fights and that kind of stuff. Because it's a little bit... You don't need a healer, a tank, and a DPS in that kind of way all the time. So if you know what you're doing, sometimes you can only go with 1 healer for 10 people. Sometimes you don't need a tank at all. And that kind of stuff is really interesting. So there are a lot of intricacies to know how how raids and strike missions work. So I think if you are a new player that is interested in high-level PvE content, I think there is a decent amount of in Guild Wars that you can learn and have fun with, because it's actually really rewarding to succeed and getting stuff done that is actually quite difficult for most people. But that's just my opinion, of course. Some people don't like Guild Wars 2 raids and that kind of stuff because they are too hard for them or too unstructured to learn, to get into. I get that. Some people want just to have a very baseline experience. That's fine to me. But I like them, yeah, for sure. And I would say if you want to get into raids, I would start with the earlier ones first, just to get a little bit of a grasp of how raids in Guild Wars 2 works and how the mechanics work and that kind of stuff, how they are telegraphed, because some of that stuff is the same all across the board. So it always helps to learn something new with the easiest stuff, of course. I think I would never go for the hardest fight without knowing any raids. That's just not smart in my opinion. Okay. Let's check out some PvP. Welcome, by the way, MJ Force. So I'm really happy about the new balance patch. I think a lot of changes will happen in PvP as well. That will definitely change my playstyle and builds that I use in Guild Wars PvP. So I'm really interested in that. Let's see if a lot of other people will agree with me, or if there are always people that are crying about PvP balance and shit. And I don't know. I think you can't make everybody happy. That's just how it goes. But I mean, that should not lessen your enjoyment of Guild Wars 2 just because some other people don't like the gameplay. Yeah, that's just my opinion. Thanks, by the way, for the follow, Neville. Really appreciate it. And if you have any other questions, please let me know. I'm happy to answer them. I'm always interested in discussions and conversations, especially when it comes to comparison between games. I think it's really important that you have games like Guild Wars 2 compared to other very active MMOs, other games, and looking at them and just comparing different stuff. And I don't know. State mandated Asura vibes 2025. I have to be honest, I'm not that into that. I hope that's not the case. I'm known for playing Asura in World vs. World, but I'm not the biggest fan of Asura. I typically play humans and some Silveris, so that's it. So I'm not really happy if I had to play Asura all the time. But that's just me. So there are people there that are enjoying Asura a lot. There are people there that are enjoying Char all the time. I mean, there is something for everyone, I hope, but I'm not into that kind of stuff. So I'm very boring in that sense. Okay, what do we want here? So Galen, so the thing is, Spear is really good, yeah, for Elementalist in PvE. It's a really, really good weapon. It's extremely strong from DPS wise. However, and that's the sad part, it needs to be used with every single attack and to proc the etchings and stuff. However, okay, let me quickly check what we have here. I think I'm playing Reaper here actually. So, however, Viva gets on the third skill, on the flip over skill, so between, let's say, fire and water, not that useful skills. So Viva doesn't get baseline a big increase by going for Spear. And then Viva is just, from the traits in that regard, worse. So there is no reason to go for Viva over Catalyst right now. And it will not change with the next balance patch. So I would say there is not a really crazy good build out there. Of course you can make it work. I can check if I find someone on right now that works. But sadly, the short answer is no. Viva is just not good in most content. And even the Snowcrow's benchmark doesn't use the Spear on Viva. It uses Sword Warhorn because it's just better. I think I can try to find one after the stream, but right now it's a little bit hard to come up with because it's just not working that well. I'm sorry. Yeah, I think it's really cool if you... That's why I enjoy Guild Wars so much, you know? Heavenfire, I like to have different kind of goals all across all the game and just having fun, because then I don't burn out from a single one of them, yeah? So I just go in, play match PvP. If I enjoy it, play another one. Then go for some fractals, go for that. And so I always have something that is interesting to me. And not get burnt out by just always grinding the same thing over and over. Yeah. It's not like I didn't do that in the past. Don't get me wrong. For example, if I go for a legendary that needs, I don't know, a lot of Soto completions. Yes, I did that as well. Nice, that was a disgusting interrupt with my Scepter 3. I corrupted stability. Oof. Yeah, Condi Reaper is pretty strong against Tempest. Ooh, that hurt actually. Sad, I didn't get the corrupt and he instantly feared me. Now I had to use it for the Condi clear, that's a little bit sad actually. Okay, we got another kill here. Actually really interesting how we kill them left and right, but another corrupt. This Tempest doesn't have fun against me. That's actually crazy. Welcome, Lipsility. Thanks. Welcome, everyone. Oh, they are all on me. No. Stop it. No support set. Will the nerfs quickly let me answer that question? I think actually you are right there. I think that the nerfs to Warhorn, when it comes to just Elementalist in general in PvE, I think it will lead us to using Dagger offhand. I think that's how it's supposed to be. I think Warhorn was designed as a just support weapon, and that's why we get nerfs like that, so that the damage decrease of Warhorn lead to people not using it as a DPS weapon anymore. Which is, in my opinion, fine, because Dagger offhand was never that much used in the last years. And it's a little bit sad, because it's actually a decent weapon when it comes to usefulness. Okay, I tried to disengage here, but I might die for that. Maybe not. Worked out pretty well here. Normally you should be really careful if you disengage, because if you die off point, you will die for a long time if they let you bleed. I will answer the questions and stuff after this match, because it's really close. I have to concentrate first. Applying poison to deny the healing and downstep. And this guy's dead for sure. Focus on this guy. Okay, he's in Lich, that's not good. Lich is a lot of damage. Even on a Condi build. Nice, we got them. Okay, we got it. Very nice, very nice. It's crazy that no one focuses me, because if they focus me, I'm easily killable by them. But they just troll a bit the enemy team. They have, I think, double support. That helps, doesn't help with just the baseline damage output. But okay, the Condi guy is on me again. Which is funny, I have a lot of Condi cleanse, so it's not really... Okay, we'll get a nice bit up here, I guess. I think focusing a Necromancer, even if it's a core Necromancer, is always the best option, because they are just so slow. If you don't focus on them, they will deal enough damage to just survive that in the end. And kill you before you kill them. So always focus them so they can't build up life force, they can't get enough just damage out. before you under pressure them. I mean, this map is, I would say, decent. It's not crazy good for Necromancer because the kiting spots are not that insane, but it's definitely one of the better maps. For example, Skyhammer for Necromancer is even better because a lot of the kiting spots are no port spots. So now there are again 3 people on me. But 2 of them are support, so I don't really mind that to that extent, if I can hold them here. Okay. Now we have a big fight here on the bell with 2 supports. That's not something we want to see, but if we get the kill here before, I can get the... No! Okay, good. Otherwise, I saw this glyph was casted, so I wanted to interrupt it. They have a lot of stability. Yeah, they don't have a Roma, they don't have anything. They have just 2 support and a Core Necromancer and a Holosmith. The Holosmith should typically focus on me, but they are playing some weird stuff. And the Untamed is also never to be seen. I'm not sure. I think this game is not really fair. Just from the matchmaking perspective, I think they got trolled with having 2 supports. That's not very useful if you don't have a big teamfight DPS. For example, if they had a Willbender, that would look different. I think then they would actually have a really decent team comp. But in this team comp with not real team fighters, it's a disgusting blind field. No, give me the heal. I hate that when that happens. I clicked on this guy, but I instant stomp. Nice. So, like I said, if they had instead of the Core Necromancer Willbender, it would look completely different. The Willbender could focus on me. He would never have to care about anything because he has double support, which helps a lot with the sustain and the boons and stuff. So this would look completely different. But Core Necromancer is just inferior to my build, and they have a double support, which Core Necromancer doesn't make a use out of. So that's crazy. Welcome, Filthy Cashew, welcome. This is a little bit tough to play because I'm not a side-noting build, but I guess I can win that. Oh, that was a lot of damage. I got him. Yeah, but I will lose the downstat 1-on-1. No, my teammate is here. That's good. You can see if I kited that better, I actually would have won that 1-on-1 even with not a real build that is made for that. Yeah, thanks. I'm happy that my YouTube channel is growing that much, so thanks if you noticed that, and thanks for all your support, by the way. Yeah, they have side noders, that's true, but it doesn't matter. If you have double support and 1 side noder, or maybe even 2, it's not a good team comp if you don't have a teamfight DPS. If you have 1 support, it's bad, but if you have 2 support and not a team fighter, that's just horrible. I mean, it's actually my rating is actually quite decent right now, so it's surprising that I won the match because there was not another good player in the enemy team either. So I don't take. It's fine, but just saying this match could have gone completely different if the enemy team had a better composition. Okay, let me catch up on chat now. Yeah, I think Tomanova Fractal is also not my favorite fractal. I think it's a decent fractal from the design perspective, but it's just not that fun. There are a lot of puzzles in there. If you don't know what to do, it's really annoying. I get that, yeah. But yeah, I think there are some better fractals, like, for example, Shattered Observatory, Nightmare, and some worse fractals like Siren's Rift. That's just how it goes. I might do a fractal tier list in the future because it's actually quite fun to just rate different content types, because I think a lot of people have different opinions on that. Maybe that sparks some discussions, but right now, not. I mean, it's so we had the discussion before. So I think focusing on all the game modes at the same time is not only good to keep the game enjoyable, but also, and that's the important part in my opinion, it also helps a lot with getting all the time gates done at once. So for example, in PvP, you get a lot of Ascended Shards of Glory if you play PvP consistently. But you can only get that during the season. So if you want to grind that, for example, if off-season, or you will also get it in the off-season, but it's not that easy to get stuff done in some amount of time if you don't grind for it all over the course of time. Yeah. So if you just play it consistently, it gets way better. It's not true for PvP, but for World vs. World, it's very true. So the tickets and stuff, you get that consistently over the course of time. So it's really important that you focus on all the game modes that are fun to you if you want to go for any time of time-gated stuff, like legendaries, like the infusion in World vs. World, and that kind of stuff. You have to focus and split your focus on all the game modes. And that not only helps with those rewards, but like I said before, it's also helping, in my opinion, with the enjoyment of the game, because Guild Wars 2 is designed as a PvX game. So you don't only should play one game mode. That's very clear at the beginning of the game, because when you first started out in Guild Wars 2 at the release, to make a legendary, you had to play World vs. World. There was no way around it, actually. Nowadays, it's somewhat doable, but before that, it's not doable. So that's really interesting to me. Yeah. Okay. So, support Chrono PvE build. Would you go for Minstrel since its damage is really low compared to the others of Standard Harrier? I can show you. There is a bit of a intricacy here. Minstrel, if you only can go for one gear set because you want to run it in a circ, yes, Minstrel is of course the best option. Just baseline, because Minstrel will give you the same quality in PvE as in World vs. World. Yes, you're completely right there. However, let me explain the differences between Minstrel and Harrier. So if you look at my Harrier build, I have on Harrier almost 100% boon duration, and I'm not using any concentration sigils. So I can use transference sigil, which is obviously must use because it's 10% increasing my outgoing healing, and 30% stun duration because of the paralyzation. That helps a lot because I am supposed to CC a lot. Yeah, I have a lot of CCs baked into my kit. Yeah, and all of those will give more breakbar damage. So this is why Harrier is so good. You get a lot of healing power and concentration. You have baseline almost 100. If I now swap to a full Minstrel setup, I would have a similar amount of stuff, but I would have very high toughness, which is a little bit, yeah. Do you want that? Because that means you tank. If you are not the tank, you don't want to have high toughness. For a lot of raid bosses, the highest toughness based player will tank. So if you're not tanking, you should go Harrier, straight up, always. If you are tanking, then you can go Minstrel. But even then, I would say Minstrel might not be the best option. I would go with Giver. Because Giver gives you toughness and not vitality. Typically in Guild Wars 2 PvE, vitality is not really that important, especially in a tank, because it just increases your health, and that also increases the amount of healing you have to do to get you to full health, if that makes sense. So toughness gives you more effective HP without decreasing the value of 1 HP healed. I hope that I explained it decently well here. So if you are tank that also is the healer, typically Giver is better than going for Minstrel and that kind of stuff, because you get higher toughness values. So you make sure that you will be the tank all the time, and your healing is more effective in that way. On yourself at least. Yeah. And you also receive, with the concentration sigil that you have to use on this setup, also 100% cool duration. You don't even need to use concentration actually on this setup because you're running chaos and you will get with the concentration with this. You don't need that. But I like to have it overcapped just to make sure that it's always the time. What is the best light armor class overall for PvE in World vs. World? After the patch, question from YouTube. So, in my opinion, in World vs. World, Mesmer and Elementalist and Necromancer get a heavy nerf. So this is sad, but they are also really, really strong there. When it comes to PvE, Mesmer and Elementalist get a nerf. So I would say the best overall class is probably in PvE. I have to say it's Mesmer. I think Mesmer is the best overall for sure. So I would say, yeah, Mesmer is the best option. It's getting nerfs, yes, I said that in every single game mode, but it's the best option. I think it's crazy actually how versatile the class is. So I would say it's just the best option. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not a lot of people think about it that way, that if you increase your vitality, then you increase your health pool, and that makes healing less effective. Yeah. So typically, if you don't need it because you don't have that much condis applied to you, which is the only reason why you would want to have really high vitality, because condis ignore toughness, then yes. But for example, look at Veil Guardian. So if I have now almost 23k HP, yeah, and I get 80% taken away from my life because of the green popping, that means I have to heal over 15k. If I'm on a lower build that has lower baseline vitality, like my Condi Virtuoso, for example, I get taken away maybe, I don't know, 15k or something, and the other one maybe almost 20k. And that means I have to heal 5k more. That means not only my healer has to heal 5k more, but if they don't do that, if they don't have a big burst heal, that means I will be stuck at not 100%. So I think vitality to keep in mind with healing effectiveness is always important. So toughness doesn't deal with conditions, but toughness doesn't decrease the healing value. That's really, really nice. Yeah, I think it's known by veterans, but not a lot of time it's really important. But if you really want to min-max, let's say with Minstrel, Givers, Harrier, and that kind of stuff, it makes sense to think about it a little bit. Typically in PvE, like I said, it's not important because oftentimes your healers are so overpowered, they will heal you anyway. If it's just 2 to 5k more, it's not crazy. So this is just my opinion, yeah. But if you want to min-max, and then you should take that in consideration, especially if you don't want to tank, then I would always go for Harrier, just because the baseline toughness that you get with Harrier is lower. But of course, if you only can go for one gear set, Minstrel is the way to go. Yeah, that's true. Yes, definitely. I think in World vs. World or competitive modes in general, this applies even more. So even in PvP, it applies because in PvP, you have stats like Heretics that gives you just baseline healing power. And this is really good when you have a low health pool. But if you use Heretics, for example, on a warrior, it works as well because you have a heavy armor class and you get baseline more armor. But if you use, for example, Heretics on an Elementalist, you have to have a lot of protection uptime to make work with that. If you wouldn't have any protection on an Elementalist, then Heretics Amulet, which gives you only healing power, no toughness, no vitality, is not that worth it, because oftentimes you just get one shot or so much damage in 1 second that it's not worth it to run healing power, because healing power is only effective if you survive the hit and can heal back up. So going for example on a Necromancer that has a high baseline health pool, typically on a Harbinger, for example, you go with toughness, because toughness perfectly suits your build because it decreases the damage you take without needing to decrease the amount of healing that you get. The reason for that is that Harbinger has a really nice interaction with blood bank and healing stuff. So you want to heal yourself very fast and receive less damage to make that heal more worthwhile. So it's actually in the competitive modes, what I just told you about toughness and vitality is even more pronounced than in the other game modes. It's just typically you copy a build from a build website from a content creator like me and say, okay, he uses this gear and I use that as a, and don't think about it. But in the end, it's quite important why we choose this amount of setup. So for example, for the Blood Bank Harbinger build, we use Demolisher. It's the best option because of Blood Bank. For example, we heal a lot, we get a lot of barrier, and this is always happening if I am at full health. Yeah. So if I have 27k health, if I would go for Marauder or something, this would proc less often. With toughness, I still get more effective HP, but this procs more often. So it is way better in that sense. Yeah. Yeah, in PvE, the Jade Pot Core boosts your HP always. That's true. And that will not happen in World vs. World just for balancing issues, because then everyone else would have to buy the Jade Pot Core. Yeah. Which is obviously really annoying if everyone to get the optimal gear would have to buy the Jade Pot Core tier 10 at over 40 gold. That would be really annoying. So that's why they just said, okay, it's only useful in PvE, and it's just helping everyone in PvE if you want to go for that. Be aware though that, for example, on Mesmer in PvE, and there's some other classes, I think Weaver actually has the same trait to some extent. It's really important that you use the Jade Pot Core if you want to min-max your damage, because if you go for Virtuoso, for example, you have this trait. Gain ferocity based on a percentage of your vitality. And this takes the Jade Pot Core into consideration. So if you have 235 more vitality, you get almost 24 more ferocity. Yes, doesn't sound like that much, but in the end, it's actually a decent amount. So you get some more damage just from having a higher Jade Pot Core. And that's the same for Weaver, for example. I think it has a similar trait there. So that kind of stuff is interesting to know, but it's not really necessary. Yeah. So we have a question here from YouTube, Flippy. Where are you from? I'm from Germany. Yeah. That's why my accent is so bad. Okay, I wanted to do some strike missions as well. Let's see if someone has time. Okay. If there are any other questions, please let me know. Nice. I got assigned pure DPS. How lucky am I? So you played last time after EOD, so you have the EOD expansion. I would say currently Harbinger is really good if you play DPS, typically. Otherwise, I would say Chronomancer is really strong if you enjoy just support. One sec. So I would say the best build in my opinion right now is support Chronomancer. It carries so hard, it has so many options, it's so versatile. And other than that, I enjoy Harbinger because it's a really, really good Condi spec on the higher level CMs. You get all the expansions. So yeah, then it doesn't really matter. I think for me currently, I really like. So if you want to go for DPS builds, Condi, Harbinger and Power Soul Beast are the best options. For support builds, I would say the best options is support Chrono, healing Chrono. And for offensive support, there are so many options. So that's probably the way to go. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think it depends a lot on what class you enjoy playing. I can't give you a big recommendation. This is the most broken one because back in the day it was Firebrand was really strong. But nowadays it's not really mattering that much anymore. Every single class has a build that is really good in fractals, so you can just play what class you enjoy. I think it's good that they changed a lot of stuff like that, because back in the day it was always Firebrand and what was Renegade. Yeah, those two were always set in stone, and then you had some DPS around it. But now it's a little bit more flexible. A lot of classes are really worthwhile to run. So I enjoy Power Virtuoso because it's really fun, but it will get nerfed out in the next balance patch, so probably not the best one anymore. So I like Condi Harp and Power Soul Beast if you want to go for DPS after the patch. I think they are really, really good. And if you want to go for support, Chronomancer is the best option in my opinion. No. German villain accent. I mean, I don't even know what that means. What should I do? What should I say? It's just not my character. You have to tell me what I have to say, and then I might do that. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Condi Scourge is still very decent in Fractal CMs, but I would say Condi Harp is better if you can play it. I mean, I saw it in Indiana Jones, but what did they say? Ah, it's a bug, okay. I mean, I'm the German. What does the German say? It's really fun. If you look at German-speaking guys in movies, typically they speak really, really badly. I think that's the case for all the foreign languages that happen in the movies. They are actually not played by guys that are of that, native speakers in that language, which is really funny because for the guy that listens to an English movie and only understands English, that in the end will sound convincing. But if you look at it as a German speaker, it sounds completely different, and you sometimes don't even get what they are saying, which is really crazy to me. Yeah, it's really fun. No, my healer just didn't heal me. I think it's really fun. It's a little bit sad that they don't have that, good amount of knowledge about how to speak that kind of stuff. But in the end, it's understandable. It's not like it's very important. Most people don't understand it anyway. Okay. Let's focus on a bit that I get the top DPS. I don't want to grief here. Looks good, looks good. Nice. I mean, it's always interesting. We had some history, of course, in the Second World War and that kind of stuff. There was always this guy that everyone knows, and he spoke a very distinct German accent, yes. But the funny thing he wasn't even a German in that sense. He was from Austria. So I'm not sure if people would really speak like that in normal angry German anymore. So it's just a lot of people from US and that kind of stuff know that how they talk, but it's not the true anymore. If you're the typical angry German, if you would meet someone on the street that is really angry at you in Germany, you wouldn't notice that it's German in that sense. You would notice it's a really angry person, but if you would really notice that's an angry person German, I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, sounds interesting. Interesting quote here. It's very satisfying. I think that's one of the most satisfying things that if you get your opener right on this build and have all the boons, it's really fun. my quickness is not that nice, so some of my skills don't work perfectly. Sad. Thanks for the follow, by the way. Architect and Tarias. Thanks a lot. Really appreciate it. Hope you enjoy the stream. So I have, I'm not sure if you know this, but on my YouTube channel I have a lot of tier lists that I just released recently. And I really enjoy making tier lists. So if you have some ideas that we can do tier lists about, doesn't have to be real tier lists in that sense that are really helpful. Sometimes it's just fun to have some conversations about a topic. So I'm always open for that. I really enjoy doing tier lists right now. And I already have another one, spicy one prepared that I will release tomorrow. That will be really fun. I think the comments will be either agreeing with me or completely disagreeing with me and completely roasting me for my takes in there. So I'm really interested to see what you guys think about that. But if you have any other spicy tier lists that I could make, please let me know. I'm always interested in that. I think that's a very fun way to interact with you and the community. So PvP Mist champion tier list. That would be amazing. You could put all of them in, I don't know, because no one plays it, tier list. Yeah. Really interesting. So we have a question here from YouTube. Will I do a new tier list for PvE after the balance patch? It depends how much changes. If there is almost no change, then I don't see the need to do so, because that would just be, I would copy the same tier list. But if there are a lot of changes, of course, then I will do that. I think it's really important that I keep that up to date, because people are looking for that and say, oh, it's not up to date. Yeah, so in the end, yeah, definitely on my list. So I will do that when there are big enough changes. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's really cool because I enjoy doing tier lists and a lot of people enjoy watching them, even if it's not a topic that is really, educational or something. Sometimes it's just to have some nice discussion going. And I think that's very fun. I think YouTube is not only educational. I try to make my content entertaining as well. So, of course, yeah. Oh, Elder Dragon tier list. That's interesting, yeah. I mean, there are not that many, but it could be an interesting tier list. Yeah, I have to write that down. Actually. The ideas are great. Yeah. Yeah, nice. Yeah, glad that you joined my Twitch as well. I mean, I stream on YouTube and Twitch, so that's not a big problem. But I'm always happy, of course, if you follow me on Twitch as well. Then I get more acknowledged there as well. So thanks for that. Okay, so now concentrate again. I want to have top DPS. This fight is really nice if you have a lot of AoE cleave. So it will get hard against the Holosmith, but let's see. I mean, I think the Elder Dragon tier list would be interesting because it's, how would you rate it? I would say I would rate it from the design, how the Elder Dragons look, but also, and that's the important part, how they feel, how the character is built. For example, some Elder Dragons, like Primorders, don't have a character at all. I would rate them really low, even though their design looks really cool. Because they don't have a character, they are just primeval stuff that is not really interacting with you in any way other than it wants to kill you. Chormak and Mothramoth are way more interesting in that sense. So it's really hard to find a balance to make all the stuff worth it, because oftentimes I would say some of them have just not have intriguing story or stuff but look right cool. So it's I have to find a nice balance between what do I want to judge them on. Yeah, but I think there would be a fun tier list for sure. I mean, what Elder Dragon would you say is your favorite one? Story character tier list. Okay. There are so many characters in Guild Wars 2 story though. Maybe. I think that would be a little bit interesting because you have to have some kind of image of them, and then I don't even know if I knew all of them by heart with the image. Probably not. I'm not that into story, so that would be a tough one. I think that would be a cool one for the story nerds out there, but it will be really hard to get all the pictures and that kind of stuff. Yeah, I mean, I find it interesting that you just destroy a dragon with brute force of cannons and stuff. I think that's in my opinion a very interesting setting that not a lot of fantasy games have. I'm not sure if it's the best one, but I get it. Yeah. Yeah. I would say Oreen. I'm not sure if I would put Oreen really high, because Oreen is weird. I think she doesn't look that crazy good from the design and how interesting the dragon in by itself is. However, I think this story-wise, I think it's a really nice dragon. It's very well explained, and she has a lot of character built into her, especially with Heart of Thorn story and that kind of stuff. So she would go higher than a lot of other dragons, in my opinion, just because of the story that is baked into her. But I really enjoy Mortimerth. I think Mortimerth is a really cool dragon by design, because he has this mind element, and we don't even know how he looks. We just know this flying snake thingy. Yeah, I think Oreen is too powerful. She's always there and just kills the enemies, and I think that's not a good thing. So from the story-wise, I think Oreen, I wouldn't put her that high, because she has some story building in there, but I think the story is often like she's the all-powerful dragon, even though she's just so young and stuff. I think that's really annoying. I like to have some kind of deep thought put into it and not always say, oh, she's so powerful, she can deal with that. I don't like that. Yeah, it's a little bit hard. I think Kralkatorrik looks really cool. I'm not sure if... Is there so much Kralkatorrik story going on? Where you talk a lot about it? Yeah, I think maybe in Season 4 at the end you talk a little bit with them. But it's not like crazy much story. I'm not sure. I think the dragons are somewhat interesting spread. Some of them are really well written. Some of them not. Chormak also is quite decently well written. Primordus, however, not that much. Yeah. Yeah, the fight was lackluster when it comes to the Mortimerth. I think Mortimerth had a really cool story ending. I think that was cool, that you go into the mind and stuff. But at the same time, there was no real dragon fight, which is a little bit sad. It was just the mouth of it. So it would be really cool if you had some nice, maybe fractal or something where you fight the Entroth. Yeah. I think Living World Season 4 a lot of people really liked. You know, there was not only Kralkatorrik going on, but also Choco, which was, of course, is really a favorite of a lot of characters. So I think this was really cool. The sad part is, in my opinion, that they rushed a lot of that part of the story. I think they could have done way better if they just split it up even further, so that we had Choco not deal in 1 or 2 episodes with, but we had some more interesting, interaction with them. But yeah, that's just a little bit my opinion on that. But I agree. I think not only from the story perspective, I think Season 4 was probably one of the best parts of Guild Wars when all the story was released at that point. I think it was probably one of the best periods where Guild Wars 2 was very alive. We got a lot of content, we got raids, we got new fractals and that kind of stuff. And a lot of content in not that much of a time frame. So I think it was really good. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. With Blish Hut, yeah, I get it. Yeah. I'm not sure. I think I will definitely do in the future some kind of expansion tier list where I rate every single expansion and talk about it. Not only expansions, of course, but also the, how's it called? Living World and just update schedule and that kind of stuff. Because I think there were a lot of different stuff, especially if you're a new player. Sometimes it makes sense to listen to some veteran tell you, okay, this expansion is worth purchasing first. This would be really interesting. I will definitely do that, and I will come back to that, how I feel like the story was written, how the world was progressing, that kind of stuff. I think there Living World Season 4, and the story there was probably one of the best. Yeah. Yeah, I think the Fractal tier list would be also quite fun. You have to be careful though with the Fractal tier list, because Fractal tier lists, in that sense, what are you rating? Are you rating how fun it is just from the design, how fast it is, how rewarding it is, how it's you have to be really careful to define that before you rate everything, because I think, for example, if you can compete the CM of 100, so Lonely Tower CM, really fast, it is a really good fractal. It is really, really good. It's probably one of the most rewarding fractals because you can complete it so fast. However, I personally don't like it at all. I think it's just not fun. The boss fight is really annoying, and I don't know. So they are definitely, yeah, I don't know. It's just my opinion, but yeah. No. I think that was a joke, because Blish is a character in Guild Wars 2 and he died in Season 4. And we now have a Blish hut, so it's an add-on, and that's the reason. It's not that the Blish hut is dead. There are other options. I'm not sure if they're better. For example, you could use Nexus. Guild Wars 2 Nexus. It has the same features or other features, so it's just it's not that. I'm still using it. Don't worry. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he did not die in that sense, but his body died. That's true. Yeah, I would agree that I would rate fractals probably not only to the difficulty, but also the annoyingness. So if you have a lot of time gates, I think that doesn't make the fractal a lot of fun. I think it's always really fun if you can skip stuff, if you can move very fast, if you know what you're doing, if you can teleport around. I think that's really fun. So for example, yeah, Aquatic Ruins would probably not go that high, just because it's a little bit annoying to do. What do we do? Are we doing actually in this group? Okay. Yeah, so other I don't like Siren's Landing. I think Siren's Landing is a really bad fractal in that sense, because I think it has a lot of really annoying things going in it, and it's not really it's very, let me move. So I think I would put that really low. I think maybe we do it after this thing. It's actually, I'm quite intrigued by a fractal tier list right now. Give me some quickness, please. Thanks. Yeah, I that's the Siren's Reef fractal. I think that's just really annoying. It doesn't matter which difficulty scale you do. All of them are really annoying, and that's, in my opinion, a clear sign that this fractal is not very fun. Because a lot of the times, if you have fractal that is somewhat decently fun, then it gets somewhat more fun if you play it on a really low level scale, because you can one-shot boss it and stuff. But this fractal, it is always really annoying, because you will always have the amount of time that you have to spend and throw around this chest stuff, and it's really, really annoying. I would totally agree with you there. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah, it's time gated. It's basically time gated. That's true. Especially at the end, when you have this chest stuff to get the next champion up. This is also, you can optimize that with portals and stuff, but in the end, it's still a little bit annoying. You know, it's not like the fractal is better because of that. I would rather have the champion spawn one after the other. But okay. Yeah, Galen brings a good point up. It's always also dependent on the group. So if you have a group that is min-maxing a lot, that is really performing really decently well, then some fractals go way easier. Yeah, but I'm always, I would say, talking about something that is somewhat comparable. So I would always use the baseline of a experienced group and not a pack that is throwing every single mechanic. Yeah, so I'm not sure. Really, that happens. I don't know. It's crazy. So really, that people attack the, how's it called, Bloomhanger without it being vulnerable. That's interesting. I did not know that. I think I just never played tier 1s, of course. So yeah, I mean, makes sense if you don't know about it. That could happen, sure. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it's sometimes I think Guild Wars 2 doesn't explain the mechanics of fights really well. It's not that there's a pop-up or something, but at the same time, you should maybe notice if you see there is something happening on the ground, there is some, how's it called, buff on the boss. Maybe that helps, but I would agree that it's not really well telegraphed, and why would people then know about it? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think that's true. I will notice that when I go to other MMOs to maybe make a YouTube series about them. Just see how I do at them and maybe compare them, how well they teach to go into them. But I think a lot of MMOs never tell you how a boss fight works. It's just you have to do it and someone else tells you how it works at some point. I think Guardian is a very good example where it works, where you have the pre-event, where you explain every single mechanic because it's not that punishing in the pre-event and you get to understand in the real fight all of them will happen again. I think that makes sense. But when it comes to fractals and dungeons, this is not always the case. You will not know how, I don't know, all the mechanics work first time, which is okay because you can learn them in not that hard fights. But sometimes, for example, the Bloomhammer stuff is not explained at all. You don't know that this will happen, that you will have some AoE that will make him vulnerable. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's always a problem. I think the agony system in Guild Wars 2, it's another topic. I don't like it. I think the agony system should be removed from the game, or at least should be made account-wide so that you can swap characters without having to care again for the agony assistance. That's really annoying in my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, I think Veil Guardian is a very positive example, but there are some other fights that don't teach you anything before and you have to just understand them. I think it's fine that there are some stuff like that, because otherwise progression would be really boring if everything is told you have to do this and then you succeed. I think progression runs should exist and raids are okay like that. I think I'm more talking about dungeons and fractals where you don't really see that kind of stuff all the time. So yeah, I get the opinion, yeah. But yeah, it's true, you learn a bit with the wisps, but you don't really learn that the wisps will activate that you can take the Bloomhanger out. So I'm not completely sure. Ah, yeah, okay. I mean, so let me talk that. I think if you criticize raids for not being really... So for example, I get why Veil Guardian is a very good example, because you see the mechanics beforehand. But to be honest, I think if you design every single boss like that, I think progression runs get a little bit less exciting, because progression is about seeing a new mechanic appear, understanding what it does to you, and then slowly working around how you can deal with it. If every single mechanic is shown in some other way before that, and you learn it before that, I think progression runs get way less exciting. So I think it is fine to make some bosses that are well explained and some bosses that are not well explained if you are going for challenging content. However, fractals, in my opinion, especially normal mode fractals, are not supposed to be challenging. They are to be to some regular, frequent content that you do, somewhat casual to get some gold, having fun. So in my opinion, every single mechanic should be explained in a way that every single person can get into. Yeah. So I get that some mechanics, for example, Demos is really bad explained, also the hand kiting and teleporting and that kind of stuff. It's really well worse explained. For example, you have a tank there, not the normal tank, but the second tank is precision focused. So if you have a high precision, like on my power chronomancer build, I would be the tank here because I have the highest precision. That's insane. Who designed bosses like that? That you have tanks that are based on precision. I totally get that. Demos is a clusterfuck in that sense. But other than that, I would say it's okay to have some fights that are not completely transparent, that you understand every single thing in the first try. Yeah. I don't know. Okay, let's check up in 1 second. So, here we go. We have a fractal tier list. I wanted to do it at some point. I think, let's see if single fractal is here. Is Swamp, how is it called? Lonely Tower here as well. I think this is the only one missing. Because then we can do the fractal tier list. Yeah, Lonely Tower is missing. So I will quickly get a picture of that. And then we can do a fractal tier list. One second. Thanks for the follow, by the way, Xpuse. Thanks a lot, and Passrock. Really appreciate it. Okay, so I'm back, and let's start with the fractal tier list. So please let me know your opinion as well in the comments, in the chat. Always appreciate it. So first, let me start by explaining what I think I'm rating this stuff about. So I want to rate my fractals that I put here on how fun they are and not how rewarding they are, how fast you can do them, but how fun they are in a way that, is there some annoying part in there? Is there just some really hard to understand clusters going on, that kind of stuff? Or is it just, in general, a decent fractal? Is it a fast fractal? Is it a nice story that is, or a nice environment? I think that's what I'm rating. So it's really hard to say this fractal is hard or difficult, because if you're an experienced group, every single fractal is easy. So I will not talk about how hard fractals are in that sense. I'll talk more about how annoying fractals can be. And I might consider fractals that are really hard to pack especially in CMs, as a bit lower tier, because they might be a bit annoying to do in the casual fractal environment. So maybe that's a little bit of a hot take, but I say, for example, Lonely Tower is a bit harder to pack because it's a bit tight on some mechanics. But other than that, I would say most fractals are quite easy. So let's start with that. I would say we have S tier, and we have the lowest one is maybe D tier. I wouldn't, to be honest, I would not put anything in lower than D tier or make a new tier like F tier or something, because I think all the fractals are, if you know what you're doing, are decently fast. So they are not completely. You don't sit there for hours and have to wait. It's not like Cold War, for example, the strike mission where you have to wait 8 minutes until to fight the boss. This is really annoying, yeah. So this is in Fractals, I would say, not really the case. So there are definitely Fractals that are not that great. Let's start with one. I would say Solid Oceans is D tier for me. It's exactly like Cold War, just a little bit faster. There is not that much going on. I think the scenery, the environment is actually decent. Don't get me wrong. I actually find it's really fun, the green stuff. But the gameplay is just horrible. You fight some stuff and you just wait until this enemy spawn and you throw the crystals at the boss. I think it's horrible. I think the gameplay of this Fractal is really, really bad. I really think that would be one of the first Fractals that they should rework. Yeah. I really think this is not something that I want to have as a Fractal, yeah. However, and that's the important part here, I think I don't mind it being in my rotation because it's quite fast and it's actually not that bad. So if you just rate it from that perspective, you could put it in C tier because it's fast and it's not really that annoying, yeah. It's just, it needs 5 minutes or so, yeah, to do. But from the gameplay perspective, it's horrible. There's nothing really happening. So let's put it at D for now. Maybe we find something that is lower then and maybe we have to put it up. Let's see. So let's talk about one of my favorites Fractals. I think Nightmare is S tier. Nightmare Fractal is one of my favorite Fractals. And I think Nightmare is normal mode, yes, but most importantly Fractal mode, the challenge mode. It's amazing. It's such a crazy good thing. It's so good. Really, it's crazy. So I don't know. I think it might be the best Fractal. It might be the best Fractal. It has, the encounters are really unique. The thrash mobs, or how is it called? This weird red glowing orbs and circles that you have to capture, nodes. I think I don't mind them. It's a fun mini game. It has some challenge to it. I think it's not too annoyingly time gated. It's a really good Fractal. If you look at Mama, especially, it's a really cool fight. But also Psyx is decent, and Encelos, of course. I think Encelos is one of the best Fractal fights in my opinion. It's really cool. You have so many mechanics or attacks that you can deal with on a different way. I think it's really nice. I think it's overall a crazy good Fractal. I think a lot of people actually would agree with. I think not a lot of people would say, oh, this Fractal is not good. I think most people would put it in S tier. Then I would say, sticking with that, I would put Shattered Observatory there as well. I think Shattered Observatory is the same. If you play the challenge mode, it's actually quite fast. You skip a lot of the talk. That's very important. And all the boss fights are cool. You have nice mini games in between that are not too annoying. And the bosses are very unique. They are really fun and teach you other stuff, especially Ark. I think Ark is probably one of the best fights because he has so many cool mechanics and you can play really skillful. I think it's such a good fight. The look away mechanic, while you have to jump, while you have to deal with the anomaly, while you have to face him and CC, it's really cool. I think it's probably one of the best designed fights. I agree that there are some things in this Fractal that might be annoying. For example, on Art, on the second boss, that you have some annoying stuff to deal with all the floating stuff and a lot of CC, and that might not be everybody's favorite boss, I get that, but I think the Arc fight is so good. That's why it's an S tier. I think I'm talking about the CMs here. I agree that the normal mode would be A tier because it's just so much talking. I think Nightmare Fractal normal mode is a little bit better, but it's also a lot of talking. I don't like that. You can skip that in CM, so I put them here because they have CMs and they are really fast. So in my opinion, Fractals with CMs, I rate just baseline higher because I think it's really cool that you have an option to get more rewards if you face more challenging foes. I really like that. I hope they will increase the CMs of old Fractals as well so that you get, for example, I don't know, a Cliffside CM. That would be really cool in my opinion. But that's just my opinion, yeah. I know that not all of us are playing CMs, so that's totally fine if you don't do that. I think Shattered Observatory Nightmare are still, even though they are slow in normal mode, quite good. Yeah. But like I said, it's just my opinion. Let me know your opinion. I mean, it's totally fair. We can discuss about that. Okay. And let's see. I think what is not a hot take? I would say a cold take is Siren's Reef is D tier. I don't like Siren's Reef. I think Siren's Reef for me is the setting is okay. It's not like crazy good, but there is almost nothing in this fractal that I enjoy. All the fights are quite annoying. There are those really annoying skeleton bombs fight that happen at the second part of the fractal, and you have to do the chests, which is really annoying, and you can't really speed that up too much. I think overall it's one of the worst fractals. I think that's not that much of a hot take. A lot of people would agree with me there. Let's continue with a not that hot take. I would say Fractal Mitrin is decent. It's for me B tier because it is a fast fractal. However, I think the mechanic to lower her shield and that makes it a little bit you wait around too much, and I think it would be cooler if you could speed that up with some skilled movement and that kind of stuff. But I think it's a decent fractal. It's fast. It has some really nice boss fights. The mechanics are decently well telegraphed, and you understand how you can deal with it. It's not very interesting in that sense. It's not like you have a lot of cool new features that are happening there or cool new mechanics. But I think it's definitely a decent fractal. Yeah, let's see if I leave it at that. But for now, I would put it B tier. It's definitely one of the ones that I would say it's fine. Yeah, for sure. What else do we have? I would say the Deepstone fractal is interesting. I don't like Deepstone. It's not very fun because it's also one of the longer ones in the daily rotation. However, I think it's not that annoying. It might be C tier, low C tier for me, because it's better than Siren's Reef. I would say I like it more when Deepstone is happening than when Siren's Reef is happening. Because Deepstone, at least you can split up, you can speed it up a bit. And the last boss fight is interesting with the falling tiles and stuff. It's not very fun in that sense, but it has some uniqueness to it. So I would put it therefore in C tier, yeah. But let me know your opinion on that. Maybe I have to change, maybe I forgot some stuff. It's really important that we change that. Yeah, the hidden path section is really annoying. That's true, where you have to use the light of Belgiumor, how it's called, to reveal this stuff. This is really annoying because you can't really speed it up. It's just cooldown kept. Yeah, I agree. It's quite annoying. But to be honest, I think this is, you get over it faster than you get over the Thresher stuff in Siren's Reef. So this is really annoying. So maybe I have to do it like that because Solid Ocean is somewhat... It's not that annoying. It's more like it's just gameplay-wise really bad. And Siren's Reef is gameplay-wise bad and really annoying. So that's why Siren's Reef might be lower than the other two. Let's say maybe that's a fair point. Yeah, I think C tier is just annoying. You don't want to play that all the time. That's true. Yeah. Let's leave it at that for now, let's say. Then maybe a hot take, but sorry, pun unintended. Volcanic Fractal, I think is A tier for me. I think the Volcanic Fractal is a really good fractal. I think the Volcanic Fractal is fun because it's not that slow. It has some time cap stuff, but you can deal with it. It's not too bad when you have to throw the stones at the boss. But the end boss fight is cool. You can deal with it really easily nowadays, and you can skip the burning boulders or move fast through them. I think it's a very decent fractal. I think for me, those are fractals without a challenge mode that I would enjoy, that I like to play because they are actually decently fun. They have a cool setting to some extent. Being in a volcano, I think that makes sense, has some Indiana Jones vibes, and I like that. I think this is a cool fractal or a hot fractal. rather. I like it. So I don't know. Maybe you have different opinions there, but I think it's one of the best ones that is not having a challenge mod at least. Yeah. Okay. Let's now talk about Aquatic Ruins. So Aquatic Ruins has two paths. So you have the dolphin path and the dark path. And they are just, you have to swim through water to the end boss, and that's it. I think it's quite fast. The end boss is not that interesting. It just CCs you a lot. That's annoying. I would put it in either in D tier or C tier. You could put, I don't know. I think is it as annoying as the Siren's Reef one? Depending on, I think that depends on if you have fractal underwater stuff equipped and if you have a good composition. Some builds are really annoying to fight to play underwater because they don't work with the weapons equipped. So I would say Aquatic Ruins is at the lower C tier because it's just not that fun. It has some uniqueness to it because it's underwater. Not a lot of content is underwater. That might make it also bad because no one wants to play underwater, in my opinion. But I don't know. I think it's okay. It has some nice. You never fight a jellyfish boss, so that's also okay. It's something new. Yeah, maybe the dolphin path is better than the dark path. Yeah. So maybe if you split it, you would put it one in C, one in D tier. I agree with that. I would put it at the lowest C tier now because of that. I can't split it here right now. So, in my opinion, it's better than Siren's Reef, but not that much better. So, that's why I would put it at the lowest C tier for now. Yeah. Okay, what do we have then? I think the Chaos Fractal is for me A tier. Yes, it reuses a lot of stuff from other fractals, but that's the design of the fractal. And I think you can make it really fast if you know how to skip all this stuff, if you move very fast. And I really like it that it's so fast-paced, that you have a lot of fun with each encounter. It's not like there's a lot of time gates going on. I think Chaos might be... You might make an argument for putting Chaos in S tier and low S tier, because it's actually one of the fast-paced fractals that is not a challenge mode. And I really value that, because I think fractals are designed like that you have some fast-paced encounters. You go in, 5 minutes, not even, and then you go out and get some reward. I think Chaos is the perfect example of a fractal where you just can go in, blast your way through and get some nice rewards. I also like the end boss fight. I think it has some nice features in there. If you can handle the stuff well with the ground and the CC, it's really easy. If you don't, it can get quite annoying. So I think it's really cool that you have this design there. It's not all copy and paste. It has some interesting stuff as well going for it. So I don't know. I think it's high A tier, maybe S tier. Let's see what we else put in A tier and S tier. Maybe I have to promote it, yeah. But that's just my take, yeah. Someone might not enjoy the environment being copy and pasted from another fractal, yeah. Then next one up is Sanqua Peak. So Sanqua Peak, in my opinion, is difficult to rate because the normal mode teaches you everything that you need to know, or most of it, for the fractal challenge mode. Yeah. However, I think the normal mode is annoying as fuck because it's really it takes forever. It's really bad, and the CM is S tier for me, exactly like Xalens puts it. I think the CM is really cool with the two phases. It's fast paced. It's just, it doesn't take a lot of time. The mechanics are really fun. It's really unique. The normal mode is just teaching you the stuff. So I would put it in S tier with an asterisk and say, okay, the normal mode is not there. Yeah. But I'm rating the fractal as a whole, and there is a challenge mode. So if you can do it, you can speed it up, and therefore I put it in S tier because I think you have the option to skip all the boring part. Yeah. Is it better than Nightmare and Shattered Obscurity? I don't know. I think that depends what you like. I think if you like to only fight one boss, yes, it's better. But I would say fractals are supposed to be not only one boss. Yeah. If you only want to fight one boss, you go in strike missions, maybe raids, where you just focus on a boss and don't really deal with skip mechanics and that kind of stuff between thrash mobs or that kind of stuff. So I think for me, just from the idea of a fractal, I would say it's a little bit worse than Nightmare, for example, because the puzzle mechanics and the various bosses and to speed it up, I think I really liked it. However, on a design level, I think it's the best challenge mode from baseline design. I think they are all really cool, the challenge modes. So it's hard to judge. I think it depends on my current day, what I would value more. So I would put them all in S tier for sure. Okay, let's continue with something not that exciting. I think the Molten Boss Fractal, if you skip the first part with teleports and stuff, it's okay. It's rather fast. It's not that exciting in that sense. Previously, it was only the end fight, so it was really fast and it was really easy. Nowadays, it's a little bit more to skip at the beginning and fight, but it's not annoying. I would put it in B tier. I think it's a decent fractal. It's not insane from what it visually provides. It's just some kind of old reused story mission. It's okay. I like it if they reuse stuff to get more content out of the game. However, it's not my favorite boss design. They are not that exciting. They just fly around and jump around. It's not crazy interesting. And I think B tier puts it really well. It's in the middle. It's not crazy good, but it's not bad either. So I would have that in my daily rotation. I don't mind it. It's fast enough for me. Now we can talk about the Thaumanova fractal. I think this is a bit interesting. I think the design of this fractal is really cool. It might be really annoying because you have so many puzzles to solve, but I have to be honest, I think this is, for me, a very old school fractal that is quite interesting. The puzzles are not that hard. You can solo all of them. And they are, if you split up, for example, it's really fast. The end boss is also quite interesting. It has a lot of interesting mechanics that you never see in a fight. So I would say, yes, it might be annoying to new players to get it done and stuff, because it might be a bit harder to get people to do all the mechanics. But for when it comes to people that know what they are doing, it's really, really fast and really fun, fast-paced, because you can split up and have different things. So in my opinion, I would put Thaumanova in B tier. Maybe if you have a really good team, I would put it even higher, because it's really fast and it's quite fun to just split up and do stuff. But I can get why you would not like it if you are not that experienced or can't find people that are helping you with the mechanics and that kind of stuff. So I would put it in B tier just because of that, because it can get quite annoying if your team is not helping you, if your team is throwing away stuff. So that's my opinion, but I can get why you would put it in a completely different tier depending on your experience level, or just experience in total with pucks and stuff. Yeah, I mean, the switches can be annoying, but to be honest, they are not like hidden or something. They're always at the same place. So if you know where to go, you can even place a Mesmer portal and do it yourself. So with the Might Mantle portal device, with the Mesmer, with a Thief and that kind of stuff, you can do it yourself without any help. But like I said, it needs either that you are really experienced or that your party helps you. And that can make it really annoying if you don't have either of those two. So that's definitely true. So that's why I would put it in beta. Otherwise, I would put it higher. But it can get quite annoying. Okay. Then we have the Underground Facility Factor. Yeah, this one, I don't know. I think this is just another reused story mission. I think it's not the most fun fractal. I think it is decently fast, so it's not annoying. It has a lot of time gates though. That's quite annoying. So I might put it in C tier because of all the time gates. But I think it's better than Deep Stone and Solid Ocean. I think it's high C tier, yeah? Because I think I would rather do that than going for Aquatic Ruins, yeah? Just because it's more, yeah, it has some time gates, but you can fight more and it's a little bit more, I don't know. It feels better to play, in my opinion. Because the time gates are not that bad. Yeah, I think it's fine. Maybe you can put it in B tier, low B tier. Depends a bit on your mood. But I think that B, C, yeah, they're this fractal is not that crazy good, for sure. I'm not sure, maybe you can make an argument for one of those tiers, but I would, let's say, put it at low B tier for now. Then let's maybe talk about Lonely Tower. There's not the title here, but that's Epoch, so this is the Lonely Tower fractal. This fractal, yeah, is the latest fractal. And it has a challenge mode, so I would put it higher because of it has a challenge mode. But I think the fractal design is not that crazy good. It's actually quite annoying. The early parts with the interrupting phases and stuff. It's not that slow if you do it really fast with an experienced group. It's it's probably the fastest fractal challenge mode. However, I think it's not a very well designed fight. It's quite annoying with the pull mechanics, and the telegraphing is horrible. And I don't really enjoy the fight at all. And if you have a bad group, you fail consistently because it's not that crazy. It's also a Soto spoiler, that's true. And I have to be honest, I think it's by far the worst challenge mode, and I'm really talking about by far. And I don't know. I would put that in... I would be maybe... I put it in C tier, I would say, because I really dislike the fractal. Yeah, I don't know. Probably there. I mean, you could have put it higher because of the challenge mode, but I really dislike it. I think it's a really bad fractal from the design. I think it's... If you make a boss that has telegraphs, but the telegraphs are wrong, it's annoying me. It's really annoying me. It's horrible. Also, the orb mechanics is just not fun. You have to collect orbs. I mean, I don't know. I don't like it. It's my personal take. Maybe someone else would put it higher, but I'm not a big fan of that fractal. I just noticed we need Sanqua, not Sanqua. How's the other one called? The Demon fractal. Give me 1 second. I have to find a replacement for that. Okay, now I'm back. So this was the second to last challenge mod that we can put here. Next up we have this is the symbol for Kanaxai, the Demon Silent Surf fractal. I think this fractal is again horrible in normal mode. I would put that in D tier if it's in normal mode. To be honest, this is such a horrible fractal, the Kanaxai Silent Surf fractal in normal mode. It's horrible with jumping across that stuff. It feels so bad. It's really, I really dislike that. In challenge mode, I think it gets better because you can skip this, and the fractal itself is almost the same. There's not a big change in challenge mode. It forces you to play different builds a little bit because you have to spread a lot, and that makes it a little bit weird. You have to jump around. I don't like that much. I feel like the boss mechanics are not explained that well, and that's why, yeah, like you mentioned here in chat, this can feel really bad if people die all the time because they don't know what they should do here. With the look away stuff and spreading out and jumping to the other islands. I think this fractal is also, together with Lonely Tower, even though they have a challenge mode, I would put them really low because the design of the boss fights is just boring. Yeah, the mechanics are not that interesting. It's just a health tank. They don't have any other mechanics than you just have to DPS it forever because there's nothing really happening. It feels like it's a very long fractal, even though in challenge mode it's not that long. So for me, I would put it in B tier because it's better than Lonely Tower if you do it in challenge mode. If you do the normal mode, it's horrible and I would put it in D tier. But I'm rating the fractal as a whole and it has a challenge mode, so you can skip it, and that's why I would put it in low B tier because it's just boring and long, but it's not horrible, annoying, and that kind of stuff. If you do the mechanics correct, it's okay. I think Lonely Tower is a little bit more annoying because you can't skip to the end boss, and the end boss is just, I don't like it. It's just my take on it, yeah. I can see why you would swap around stuff like that and put the challenge modes higher because they are challenge modes and it's more exciting. But in my opinion, I don't like it. I think that's just boring. Okay, then we have the Aetherblade Fractal. I think the Aetherblade Fractal is interesting. There's not a lot of fighting going on. If you skip all this stuff, if you know what you're doing, you only are time gated by the time gate mechanic where you have to wait until the cannons stop shooting and you killed all the enemies there. Which is a little bit boring that you have a time gate there. But in general, I think it's a unique fractal with the laser spinning at the end and just not a real boss fight at all. You can skip a lot. I think this is a fractal where I would say I would put it in high B tier. Maybe if I would be really happy, you could put it in A tier because it's quite fast and you can skip a lot. But just from the fractal design, it's not that interesting. You don't really do that much, you know. There are not that many mechanics. You just kill enemies and you wait for the next step to happen. I think that's not that interesting. I think it's a cool fractal from the design, from the environment, but that's about it. You might argue that you could put it in A tier, but my personal take is at B tier for now. Then we have the uncategorized fractal. Let's talk about that. The uncategorized fractal. Yeah, let's think about it for a second. You have the skip with the harpies. You have then the weird champion stuff, and after that some more puzzles and the old Tom golem, and then you have another skip, and you have then the last fight with the 4 golems. So yeah, there are some fights, some boss fights. Yeah, there is a skip. You can skip them to the last platform. You don't need the harpy stuff again. You can just skip and jumping up. I showed it earlier today because it was daily today. You can watch the VOD and then someone you can see the jump there. It's really helping a lot. It speeds up the fractal so much if you know how to do it. Yeah, it's really good. So I would say it's not annoying in that sense because you can skip a lot of stuff, but some of the instabilities make this fractal really, really annoying. So I would put it in B tier, middle of B tier, just because it's not that unique, but it's not annoying either. So I would put it in B tier. I think B tier is for me where I say these fractals are good. I like them. They are not the best, but I would put my time and play fractals like those. I would skip, if only C and D tier fractals are on daily rotation, I would not do the dailies today because it's just annoying. If there's one of those there, don't matter. If it's only B tier, I would go for them. It's not that annoying. That's just my take. Yeah. Okay, then we have Urban Battlegrounds fractal. This one is interesting. So it has a very unique gameplay wise. You kill the gate and stuff. Feels a little bit like World vs. World at first with the arrow cards and burning oil. And then you can skip all of the barricade stuff if you climb over the houses and stuff. But even if you don't do that, you can just run through the mobs and go to the courtyard, and then you have a lot of time gate going on. I think it's not a very great fractal in that sense. It's not very annoying either. I would put it at the highest of C tier, maybe. Maybe low B tier. But it's not really crazy good in that sense. It has some unique environment. It's Ascalon stuff. I think that's interesting. But that you have some with the time gate and you just wait until the enemies spawn and the shaman is done with this ritual. I think that's not very fun. It's just annoying a bit. I think this fractal is okay. I would maybe put it in B tier just because there are a lot of other fractals in B tier that are decent. Maybe I put it in low B tier. Maybe that makes sense. Yeah. Okay. Then we have the Swampland fractal. I think the Swampland fractal is, again, like the Taumanova one, really different for different experience levels. So if you have people that are not that experienced, it can easily be D tier because it is really annoying. People just don't know how to deal with the Wisp at the beginning and get knocked down, get not to the time, to the stumps and time. I think it can be really annoying. However, I think if you're a fast group using maybe portals or just know the way how to do it with climbing over the trees and stuff, it is not annoying at all. I think it's quite fast. Then you burst the Mossman, in a blink it's down, and then you go to the Bloomhanger, which is time gated. That's annoying. This is the annoying part, but it's a interesting fight. You can see it. You can even skip mechanics there. So I would say it's decent. It's not a very crazy good fractal. I would put it in B tier as well. You can see most fractals are in B tier that are just released at the same amount of time. They are very similar. I would say the only exception here is this one. That's just here because the Silent Surf one, because the challenge mode is good. If the challenge mode would not be there, I would put it in B tier for sure. So just that you know. So I think the 2 newest fractals are shit. In that sense, I hope they will increase the fractal design a lot with the next fractal that will come up soonish. So I really hope that the next fractal will be S tier again, like the old challenge modes. I really hope so. Okay. Then we have Cliffside Fractal. I think the Cliffside Fractal is a really cool fractal. It has a very unique environment. The mechanics are very unique with the hammer stuff. It is a little bit different. You don't fight bosses all the time, only at the end. You can skip a lot if you know what you're doing, pot through the walls and stuff. And it's not that time gated. It has some time gate, but you can do it quite fast. For me, Cliffside is an A tier fractal. I think it's really fun. It's a little bit long than in comparison to other fractals, but I think it is a really cool designed boss and cool design, just interesting this thing that you climb up to free the Colossus. It's really cool. I like that. I think it's a really unique thing. So that's why I would put it in A tier. Then we have the Molten Furnace Fractal. I don't like that one. I think it's I don't know. I don't really like it. I think it's very time gated, and that makes it really bad. The end boss fight is really not that good. He's also jumping around a lot. I think it's fast in the end. It will not be. It's not the longest one. It's the one with the dredge at the end where you fight the one that buries all 25% all the time, where you have the molten core exposed at the end, where you have to kill some enemies while they shoot some weapon test stuff. I think it's an annoying fractal. I have to be honest. I think it's time gated too much. I would put it in low C tier. There is an argument for putting it in D tier, but however, I would say it's faster than Siren's Reef almost all the time, even with all the time gates. So I would put it in C because of that, because it's time gated, yes, but it's in the end quite fast, and nothing beats Siren's Reef. Like Asmir says here in chat, I think it's Siren's Reef is a level by itself. Yeah. So low C tier. Yeah, it's not that amazing. Again, story instance stuff. Yeah. I don't know. Okay. Then we have Snowblind. I think Snowblind is interesting. Snowblind has a time gate at the beginning, which is a little bit boring. I get that. I think that's, if they cut out that part, I would say Snowblind is probably one of the best fractals, normal modes, because the follow-up part where you kill the elemental and then you go through a dark forest and kill the Svanir thing, I think this is really cool. I think that's one of my favorite parts because it's very fast-paced. If you know what you're doing with reflex, with potting around in the dark forest and you can skip a lot of the phases with this one Son of Svanir that have a lot of stuff. I think it's boring, but it's really fast. So that now it's heavily dependent on what you value. If you value a fast fractal or a boring one, then that's okay. But if you say it's boring, I want to have some exciting stuff, then you would put it lower. And I think it's really important that you understand the mechanics of the fights, because otherwise the fights will get really annoying. So I would say I put it in high B tier. You can put it in A tier if you really enjoy it because of the fast-paced style. But if you have a bad group that doesn't know how to deal with the elemental because it's not reflecting, you don't know how to burn the fires around it, this is horrible and it gets really boring and just long. So I think this is a again, a thing where you have to be either a really experienced player to make it fast and really fun, or make it really annoying and slow because there are just not enough people that know how to deal with the mechanics. I think it's B tier for me. Yeah. Okay, and then last but not least, we have Twilight Oasis Fractal. This Fractal, the first part is boring as well. The first part with the sun, how is it called, sunbinders, or this weird guys there, where you have to kill those single elites and you have to jump across the rooftops and stuff. This is annoying. This is really annoying. I think I don't like that part. However, the end boss fight is probably the best boss fight in Fractals. That might be a hot take, but I think the design of the boss fight, that you have 5 different phases with 5 completely different attacks, is amazing. I really liked it. All of them to the bosses, the goddesses or gods of the humans flavored. I think that's really cool. I think that's a really amazing fight. If the first part didn't exist, I would put it in S tier because I think the end boss is amazing. Yeah. However, the first part does exist, and the first part is making this fractal way slower than it should be. So I would put it in low A tier just because I like it so much, the last boss. But I can get why you would put it in B tier, for example, because it's not that amazing with the first part in there. But that's just my take on the, let's say, meta. It might not be completely true in that sense. I don't know. Maybe you have a completely different opinion there. But that's just my take on the meta. Yeah. Yeah, let me know your take on that. I would be really interested in that. But I think that looks about right for me. So this is Lonely Tower and this is the Silent Surf one, just that you know, because I did not have the titles in there. Yeah. Yeah, I think that looks fine. I think my favorite fractals are in S tier, and for sure, without a doubt, the worst is Silent Reef. And that's about. And in the middle, a lot of cool fractals, or not so cool fractals in C tier, but yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you play a lot with people that are new to fractals, then of course it takes longer. I think that is fair. I think if you get more experience and get into better groups, you will notice some fractals will go way faster than others because there are no time gates and you can skip a lot of stuff. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, that's true. If you do the Twilight Oasis stuff and you don't know how to jump up the roofs and stuff very fast or split up even, that can be really annoying. I get that, yeah, for sure. Okay. Yeah, I would say that's where I would leave it. I think that was a fun tier list. I hope you enjoyed it as well. It was quite nice. Yeah, let's do some more stuff. Let's see what we can do. Let's do some Divinity Switch. Yeah, I have a lot of characters, yeah. Yeah, you noticed that. Yeah, I know. Most of them are used for different, how is it called? Some, for example, my humans are my PvE characters. Then I have PvP characters and World vs. World characters. And other than that, what do I have as well? Just a lot of storage characters, mostly for storage. Yeah. Exactly, storage is all the way. You can store so much on characters. I have characters that have full over 400 inventory that I never use other than for storage. So yeah, it's just a long-term player thing. I think it's not needed for anyone that is not even close to where I'm at. I mean, I completed the game in that sense. I just want to have some fun. Yeah. Exactly. I have my characters parked at some jumping puzzle ends and that kind of stuff, and log in now and then every day if I remember it to get more loot. But it's not like I created them for that. It's just I used them to make it even more valuable. Wait. Yeah. So you'd never need so many characters. I would say if you have one class each, that one character for each class, I think that's fine. I would say if you play World vs. World and PvP, sometimes it makes sense to have more characters, because you can then have a character that is dedicated to World vs. World or PvP, so you don't have to share the equipment templates and build templates. That can be really helpful. Other than that, if you don't do that, if you just play a single game mode or a single class, that does not matter and is not necessary. So yeah, I don't know. It's highly dependent on what kind of player you are. But I think character slots are really good investment of your gems. That much is for sure. Yeah. What else do we have to do today? I have, if I want to go for a lot of the, how's it called, festival achievements. And one of them is Continual Celestial Challenger. Yeah. And you need 8 times to complete this achievement. And you needed 12 times this achievement to get all the account points, achievement points. That's really annoying. That's so annoying. I don't know. It feels really, really bad. No, I don't want to do a training today. We will do the next Raid Wing training on Wednesday. So if you want to join, we will probably do Wing 4. It's not decided yet. Depends if we find enough people. So if you still want to join, be sure to check out my Discord to sign up. And then we can do another raid training. But not today. Not today. Some people are not even awake yet. So, you already joined. Perfect. Yeah, that's good. I mean, if we don't find enough people, we have to postpone it. But let's see. We still have some time. Maybe a lot of more people join up. And I just want to, I don't want to always do Raid Wing 1. I want to do other Raid Wings as well, just so that people get the chance to learn every boss. If they, for example, already did Wing 1, they want to learn something else as well. And it's of course a little bit more entertaining content if I can show different stuff and not always the same Raid Wing. Because at some point the explanations also get a little bit boring for the chat and stuff. Yeah, but that's just my take. Let me quickly check what dailies we have. Okay, yeah. So I really dislike this festival. I'm not sure if you noticed that, but I really hate this festival. It's boring as fuck. There's not that much to do, and it's always the same thing here. It's really, really bad. But what can you do? Yeah, I think Wing 1 and Wing 4 are both the easiest. I think they are very easy nowadays. They are similar, yeah, for sure. Festival tier next. It's an interesting idea. I mean, sadly, there are only 6 festivals, and I'm not sure if I would really make a tier list out of them. Could be a fast one. Yeah, that's true. I mean, it's not a secret. This one would be the least favorite of mine, for sure. By a long shot. I really hate this one. It doesn't have any content other than the Dragon Ball Arena and this thing. That's it. There's no content. I really don't like that. But okay. Yeah, for example, if you compare this to Winter's Day or Halloween, the content difference is insane. It's really insane how much less content you get in this one. It's actually crazy. Where's the last thing? Yeah. I don't know. I'm not really happy. So, Alena Wong, which classes are most popular in Fractals? This is an interesting question we got here from YouTube. The idea here to answer this is nowadays a little bit harder, because the thing is, previously when there was a really clear thing, so you needed quickness, heal firebrand, and you needed an alacrity renegade. This was the best option by far, and everyone used it. But nowadays, it's not that clear anymore, yeah, because there are so many good options for supports. For example, Chronomancer, even Alacrity Scourge. There are a lot of good options for Fractals nowadays, and you can pair them really well. So I would say support heal Chronomancer is amazing. DPS Chronomancer for Alacrity or Quickness is really, really good. Then we have some very strong Power Tempest builds right now. They will get nerfed after the next patch, so it's not that good anymore. power. Soul Beast is crazy good. Condi Harbinger is good in challenge modes. Dragon Hunter is actually decent if you know how to play it, because it has such good burst. And it will get buffed after the next patch. And what else is very good? Firebrand is still very decent. And yeah, I would say Spectre can be very good if you know how to do it in the challenge modes. So I would say that are the most common builds that I would use. I would use for fractals always a power build, except for the Sums challenge modes, because it's better to have a Condi or ranged build at least. So there are some builds that perform better. For example, I think on the support side, there are not that many builds that are run, like Chronomancer, Firebrand, and Scourge. But all the other classes are actually very good as well. So I think nowadays it's actually quite easy to play fractals, because it doesn't really matter which class you pick. Every single class has a really good build for fractals. They balanced it way more than it was previously, where you always had to go for the same thing. Borderlands tier list. That would be an interesting one. There are not that many there. Yeah, see you, Heavenfire. Have a nice day. So the Borderlands, we have Alpine Borderlands, we have Desert Borderlands, and we have Edge of the Mists and EB. So we have 4 things. I can give you that tier list right now. I would say Alpine Borderlands is amazing. It's one of the best, if not the best. I would put it in S tier, because it's really cool. It has really nice gameplay, or looks really cool, and is not too big, but has some changes in it. I would say that's a really good one. On the other hand, let me check if I did everything. On the other hand, we have Eternal Battlegrounds. I would put it in A tier, maybe S tier as well. I think it's very good. It's where you go when you just want to have some content. There are always people there that fight, some Zerg gameplay. I think Eternal Battlegrounds and Alpine Borderlands probably are on the same tier. And don't get me wrong, I actually think that Desert Borderlands is a very cool Borderland. I really like that. However, it's too big. Yeah. So that means that moving from 1 to B gets a little bit annoying. Yeah. And this is, in my opinion, not a good sign. Because sometimes if you wipe your Zerg, then it gets really annoying to get back to the location and defend it. So I think the design is probably one of the coolest, because some cool boss arenas and that kind of stuff. But gameplay-wise, it's not that cool. So I would put it a lower tier. That's my opinion on when it comes to the... So it's still a good thing, because Edge of the Mist, on the other hand, which is the last one, which you only can get into if you use this button, and no one plays it nowadays anymore, can be really annoying, because you have to face enemies, and sometimes they knock you from the arena out of it. It can be really annoying. But on the other hand, you have the GVG arena that they added somewhat recently, so that's really cool. But I would put it definitely lower than the Desert Borderlands. For me, it's not that fun. So I would say Desert Borderlands A tier, Alpine Borderlands and Eternal Battlegrounds S tier, and Edge of the Mist B tier. That would be my summary. Yeah. But that's just my take on the matter. Yeah, that might not be everyone that would agree to that. Yeah. What kind of meta are you talking about? Because I talk a lot about elite specs. I'm not sure what kind. Ah, you mean the meta events? Meta events. Ah, okay. Yeah, that is interesting. Maybe. I think open world ranking is interesting. That would take quite a while. There are a lot of open world maps, yeah? Don't get me wrong. I think that would be a long video or stream. I think Lara and Teapot did that at one point, and they took over 3 hours for that. So it's definitely something really, really long. But maybe, yeah? Maybe it's an interesting idea, yeah? Maybe in the future. I really like tier list. I think it's fun to make. It's really fun to discuss stuff with you. And I think it's also decently interesting for people that are just wanting to watch my content, get entertained, maybe learn something. I think it's really nice. Yeah, I definitely have a different perspective on some of the maps. I would agree on that for sure. The meta events, I have to be honest. If I would do a meta event tier list, for example, Darren's did that somewhat recently, you have to do all the meta events. And I have to be honest. When I talk about meta events, I do some of them, but I never did all of them. There are some in POF that I never did because I don't care about them. I think they are bad or they are bugged to some extent. So I'm not sure if I would be the right person to judge how fun a meta event is, but I might try it anyway, yeah, because it would be an interesting opinion if I just give you my opinion why I don't do these meta events, yeah, because a lot of people want to have opinions for someone that does a lot of meta events, but maybe I don't do those meta events because I don't enjoy them. So doing all the bounties would be horrible. I think bounties, to be honest, the problem with bounties is I think they could have done way better stuff when it comes to the bounties if they would have increased the rewards. Because then people would still do it and the part of fire maps would still be alive. Yeah. However, they did not decide to do that, so bounties are not done a lot. And on the other hand, bounties can be really annoying because bounties have those random modifiers. Sometimes you have to stand outside of the rim. Sometimes you have to not move, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And this is just really annoying. That's just annoying to fight. And I really hate that. Yeah. I think you're right. The legendary bounties are somewhat frequently done, but I'm talking about the champion. No one does champion bounties. You either do it solo or you don't do it at all. So this is a little bit sad. If they would do the rewards, push up the rewards, that would be more interesting. So I'm not sure. Thanks for the follow, by the way. Expius, Pesrock, and Necro George. Thanks a lot. And this is my opinion. I get why people would have other opinions on that and would say the bounties are shit or stuff. I think if the rewards would be better, that would help for sure, in my opinion. But in the end, I think it's old content. I think they will never go back to it. I think they will never go back. There could be homestead decorations and with a certain drop chance with bounties. I agree with the casual. That would be a nice way to revive old content. But I really doubt it. I think a lot of the times they just say, nah, it's not worth it, and they don't do it. Look at dungeons, look at, how is it called, DRMs, so Dragon Response missions. All of that stuff is not happening. They are not going back to that anymore. So, I just don't know. I think it's not gonna happen in that sense. Yeah, definitely. They don't go back and fix bugs. If you look at strike missions, for example, there are bugs, to be honest. Whisper of Chormek is probably the most bugged fight in the entire game. And they did not fix it, even though a lot of people do it daily. Yeah. So they just are not very good at going back and fixing stuff. Or they don't care about it either. So yeah, that's the thing there. So I would say bounties could be better if they increase the gameplay aspect of it and the rewards. But that's too much for them to fix, so I think they will not do that. Yeah, it would be really cool. Like I said, I think my dream is still for Guild Wars 2, but that's a lot of cope, but also for maybe another game, Guild Wars 3 or so, would be procedural generated content. So if you had dungeons that are somewhat increasing in difficulty, like fractals, and you can solo farm, yeah, endlessly. And I think dungeons would be the perfect way to do that. If you had some random generated arena or boss level fight, whatever, and that changes every single time you enter, that would be amazing. But I think they will never go back to that. I also don't think they will ever do some kind of PvP and PvE, so where you have to get some loot through getting to something, because Obsidian Sanctum was that. So you had to do the jumping puzzle back in the old days to get legendaries, and people could throw you off the jumping puzzle, could annoy you to not get to the end in any way, fight you, kill you, whatever. And they just did not like that. because a lot of people got really trolled by other people, longbow rangers that sniped you from the end of the jumping puzzle and that kind of stuff to knock you down. So they don't want to have that in the game, and they don't do that anymore. I highly think that's not likely that they will do that. So yeah, I'm not sure if I would like it. That doesn't really matter because they will never do it. Yeah, so. But that's just my opinion, yeah. Yeah, I think it would be really cool if you had some kind of different stuff. I don't get me wrong, I like the current dungeons and fractals in that sense that they are always the same, that you have something to just improve on and min-max and think, okay, how can I skip this and how can I get 1 more second out of this section? I think this is really cool. But at the same time, it would be really cool to have something procedural generated so that you have endless content if you just want to farm it. Don't want to, let's say, speedrun it. You just want to farm and get more gold, maybe even solo. That would be amazing, yeah? So I think this is a cool thing they could implement. I'm not sure if this is the algorithm of, or not the algorithm, but the code of Guild Wars 2 is even feasible to do something like that, because it's a really old engine. It's based on the Guild Wars 1 engine, so it's a really old thing. But in my opinion, it would be really cool if they could add something like this. Yeah, I think it makes sense to have some kind of PvP if you have a game like that. So if you're Lineage 2 and you have some control over the territory and your guilds can get the world boss and not the other one, that makes sense. But in Guild Wars 2, I think that's not fitting. The community is just too casual for that. They would be really annoyed and a lot of people would quit the game. I think it's not worth it for them. Which is totally fine. I think not every single game has to have some kind of PvP when it comes to bosses and that kind of stuff. I think we have world versus world and PvP if you want to play competitive. So I think it's fine. I would not go for that. And I think they will never go and do that. But yeah, I think that might just be my take. Yeah. Some other people might disagree with that and don't like Guild Wars for the casual gameplay that it delivers. That's fine. Yeah. I think Guild Wars is a game that can be played casually or really hardcore. You just have to set yourself own goals if you want to play it hardcore. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. A lot of options. But I hope they will announce something. Yeah. So, George said, I'm thinking of playing PvP again. I have not played since 2019. Can't decide what class to play. So, it depends a bit. I think PvP is really fun, yeah. However, PvP can be, especially nowadays with the low amount of population, can be quite frustrating. So if you want to go into PvP and have just fun, want to improve, I made a video about the correct mindset that you should have. If you have that kind of mindset of just wanting to improve and why that is so important, then I think PvP can be really cool. And if you, I don't know, it depends a bit what class you want to play. I would say not engineer, that's quite bad right now. But all the other classes, especially after the balance patch, will be really good. Yeah, so I would say depends what class you actually really enjoy. Let me know, and I can give you a build that is currently or will be really good after the next patch. Yeah, I think that's totally right, Linus. I think a lot of MMOs nowadays are only PvE or at least not that PvP focused anymore. And I think that's okay, because if the player base really wants that, then it makes sense. Yeah. However, I feel like having the option to play PvP makes a lot of sense. But I think it's really hard to maintain. I will make a video about it in the future, actually, why I think that nowadays MMOs should not go for PvP if they not plan on doing a full PvP MMO. Yeah. So, for example, Guild Wars 2 should not have gone for PvP at all, in my opinion, if they did not go hard with it. So, that if they didn't go with more content for it, more thing, they should either go full in on it or not do it at all. I think something like Guild Wars 2, where you have one option to play PvP, but not a lot of people do, that's really bad. I'm not sure if Ashes of Creation really can deliver to that. I'm really I'm really unsure if that will happen. I think the current alpha looks okay, but it doesn't look that crazy to me. Yeah. I'm not sure if they really make it a really crazy good game where you really get all the advertisement that people got for Ashes of Recreation, if that's really true, if that will really come true. I'm not sure. So if you want to play Thief, Thief currently is not that crazy strong. It's not bad, don't get me wrong. Spectre will be quite decent after the next balance patch in PvP. But I would not recommend to go for Thief if I would be going for the best meta spec and I want to learn something new. I would say Elementalist is in a very good spot. I would learn Hammer Catalyst. I have a build guide about it in my YouTube channel. It's really, really good. It will get even better after the next balance patch. And if you enjoy Elementalist, it's a really good build. It's a really good build. Yeah, I mean, Ashes of Creation, I think I think that's really fun when it comes to MMOs and stuff. The community is very focused on new MMOs because they are just in a dire need of getting a really good new MMO. However, all the new MMOs that come out are not really fulfilling all the promises that they make. So in the end, people just go back to the old MMOs that they already know of. Or that's what I think. So I'm not sure if Ashes of Creation is really the MMO that we are all hoping for. Because I actually doubt that you can make every single person happy when it comes to what they want from an MMO. So I'm not sure if Ashes of Creation can deliver that promise of a PvP MMO that also casual player will enjoy. I'm not sure. Yeah, I have to be honest. If I would make a prediction, I would say Ashes of Creation will be a big disappointment. Currently, it looks good. Decent at least. But if we get the release, it will probably be either buggy and not working like it should, or it will be just very annoying to get in the server and that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think there will be a lot of problems that we don't foresee right now, and in the end, it will probably not turn out as good as it should be. I think that will be the case. Yeah. So Necro Church, I would definitely go for Hammer Catalyst, and I think it's a really fun build. You can kill people. For example, if a Willbender engages you, outnumbers you, you can kill them. Even if you're 1v2, it's a really good duelist, probably the best after the patch, and it's a really fun build. Really fast-paced as well. You should try it out for sure. Yeah, I think when it comes to monetization, I think there will always be some problems, especially when it comes to pay-to-win features. I think it's really hard to make a lot of money with MMOs. You put a lot of effort in the development. It takes years, maybe 10 years even, to develop a new MMO. And in the end, you might not even succeed and you have to do some weird pay-to-win stuff in the game. I think that is supposed to happen nowadays. A lot of MMOs that launch nowadays are just exactly like that. So I'm not sure if that will happen. I mean, I would say Elementalist. So if we get this question, I think Elementalist has a lot of buttons, but is it harder to play than other classes? That is a question that you have to ask yourself in a different context. Because yes, you have a lot of buttons to press, but if you don't mind learning what the buttons are doing, yeah, then it's not harder than the other classes, especially because Elementalist, especially Hammer Catalyst, you actually do rather fine if you just press all the buttons of cooldown. For example, if you play Mesmer, you get way more punished, even though it has less buttons to press. Or if you play Necromancer, it's also way more punishable because you are so slow. So I think it's not that easy to say Elementalist is hard because it has a lot of buttons. So if you enjoy the class and you don't mind to read all the skill descriptions, not a big deal. It's not harder than the other classes. But if you are worried about learning new stuff because it has a lot of different skills to learn, then maybe it's not the one for you. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I mean, I think that's a very important thing that you bring up here. In PvP, even if you are not that good at PvP, just starting out, getting into it, if I would make a build guide about a specific build that you want to play, I would never tell you a certain rotation you should play. A lot of people in my comments always ask me, or let me know the rotation that I should use. In PvP, there is no rotation. Yeah. Of course, you can have a certain way to deal damage, but you should always think about what skills should I use now, because in the current situation, my rotation, yeah, so quote unquote, is not ideal right now because, for example, I want to not get damaged. So I kite them a bit and try to deal damage from as far away as I can. Then I have to use different skills than if I want to go all in and cleave someone that is already in downstat. So in my opinion, it's really important that you understand that PvP doesn't have a rotation. It has combos that you have to use in different scenarios. I explain them in my build guides all the time, what kind of combos you should use, but it's very situational. You should always use the thing that is used in the correct situation, because now it's very useful. And otherwise, it's not. If you have a rotation and you always do the same rotation, let's say I always do 5 into this, yeah? If I always do that, my enemy will, after the second or third time, for sure know, oh, he will do this. And then they will dodge and they will do no damage. So always adjust your rotation, be surprising, just surprise your enemy with something new, something unorthodox, something that is not making sense sometimes. Sometimes you kite, sometimes you outplay them by teleporting behind them and something. Yeah, just, it's really important that you have something interesting. Yeah, I have on my YouTube channel once, I have a Condisol Beast build guide, the same that Boys plays. So you can check that out. So that's really important. I really want to make that statement. Even if you're a new player and want to get into PvP, it's really important that you understand rotations are not the thing that you should focus on. You should focus on, okay, how can I deny my enemy damage and at the same time try to deal damage to the enemy. Yeah, so kiting is really important. Dealing damage while you kite is really important. Necromancer is really strong at exactly that. But at the same time, you will be always the focus. So if you play Necromancer, it can be really hard to survive, because if 3 people engage on you just because you're the priority target, so to say, that means you have to kite, you have to survive. And in the end, if you survive, you will probably win. So Necromancer is a really fun class if you like to be the focus and you want to survive. Yeah. And very good point by Filthy Casual. It sounds a little bit stupid, but if you play Chaotic, sometimes you don't even know what you're doing yourself. It's also getting harder for your enemy to predict what you will do, and therefore you might outplay them by chance. Of course, it's better to play Chaotic in a way that you already know is somewhat decently well. You should not use your healing skill while you're at full health, generally. So that's stupid. But of course, making a little bit of different decision, not always going to air and then fire, but maybe going in air and then earth, attunement on element. This makes a little bit of a different thing. So it's always important that you understand how to. So I think what I can tell you as an experienced player, surviving is the key. If you survive, if you can survive on any build for very long or don't die at all in a game, the chances of you winning the game is way higher. So if you can understand how to survive in PvP, in the end, you will perform way better than if you know how to deal damage. Because if you survive, oftentimes that's better for your team than if you die and deal damage beforehand. So in my opinion, learning how to survive is the first step in how to getting a really good PvP rating and just getting better at the game. And that means kiting, LOSing, so going behind some structure to not getting damaged, going out of range, trying to blind enemies, trying to interrupt them in key skills and that kind of stuff. So this is really important. And the good point here by Asnya is that this surviving skill to see when attacks are happening, going behind stuff, is also working in PvE. So if you're fighting bosses and stuff, if you see that there's a telegraph happening, you don't always have to dodge. Sometimes it's good enough to just sidestep the attack. This is really important to understand, that this is a mechanical skill that you learn with PvP that is important for every single game mode in Guild Wars 2. Yeah, I mean, Mirage, if you play as a new player, is horrible, because Mirage is exactly the opposite of that. Mirage deals baseline a lot of damage. You can easily deal a lot of damage. But surviving on a Mirage is way harder because it has the only options how you can survive is by dodging and just porting around. If you can't do that at the correct time when you need to do that, or when you know, okay, now I will not receive damage, I can go aggressive. If you don't know that yet, it's horrible. It's I would say one of the hardest classes to play, even though after the next balance patch, it will probably be the best class that we will have as a Roma. Yeah, it will outclass Willbender for sure. So this is really important to understand. Just because a class is really good doesn't mean it's easy, especially if you want to survive on it. So I think Mirage is definitely a class that is overlooked in that sense, because if you want to min-max, and the skill ceiling on that class is amazing. It's really high. It's really fun to learn. However, you have to put a lot of effort in. So I will warn you. Yeah. I don't know. That's just my opinion. Of course, someone else might find it really easy, but I guess most people would agree to that. Maybe we can get finally a 101 here. Yeah, looks like it. Oh no, this guy's AFK. Sad. Not really here. Some nice gameplay here. Sad. We can discuss some stuff, but I wanted to show you some 101s before this build gets nerfed. I would agree that killing AFK players is really bad, but to be honest, if they stand around in World vs. World, AFK, it's their fault, yeah? So if they die. But I would agree that it's not something that is very nice to do. But it's not like it's hurting them. So if they just stand around here, they just have to go to the respawn and that's it. It's not like I'm completely getting all their loot or something. So I would say, yeah, it's mean, but just don't go AFK in the middle of nowhere. Yeah. I mean, PvP, I think it has a lot of people are afraid of getting into PvP in Guild Wars 2. But in my opinion, I think it can be a really fun game mode if you have the right mindset. If you don't, it can be really frustrating and toxic. But if you have the right mindset and just playing it for fun, trying to get better at it, without the need for going for rating and that kind of stuff, this is where it shines. I think PvP is the best game mode when it comes to combat in Guild Wars 2. I think the combat of Guild Wars 2 is designed with a PvP mindset. Yeah? So that all the attacks and stuff are designed in a way that you have to focus on them, as you can see the animations, telegraphing and stuff really well. It's very fluid. It's very fun when it comes to outplaying your opponents and that kind of stuff. So I think PvP is a really great game mode, but you have to have the right mindset. So that's what I want to, yeah, tell you. Yeah. So if you have people to play it with that also get into at the same time into the game mode, that's even better. That's perfect then, because then you have someone to talk to have fun with, to understand something, maybe even train some 101s with, duel them. I think that's really cool if you have some friends to play the game with. It's always improving every single game mode, but in PvP it helps a lot as well. Especially if you're at the same skill level to some extent. Yeah, that's correct for sure. But I have to say, even without friends, for me, PvP is quite fun. Yeah. And I'm trying to get into PvP, but all my friends watch Simmer Gaming and told them my Scourge sucks. Yeah, I mean, I'm sad that I said that, but it's sadly the truth. I think Scourge is just very bad in PvP. The only time where you can play it is in 2v2, maybe. I think in 3v3 it's better. So in 3v3, Scourge is okay. But in Conquest, please don't play Scourge. Try to play some other Necro spec. Scourge is not good. You can play Condi Reaper. You can play even Power Harbinger. They are rather close from the Necros thing. So please try to learn that. They are way better. Other than that, really, if you don't, Mechanist and Scourge, those two classes, I would never say please don't play them. Other than that, all classes are completely fine. Only those two, please. Yeah, it would be horrible. But yeah, there will be a separate queue for 2v2 and 3v3. However, it will only happen at March 5th. So, or at the end of this season. So it's always, the season goes for 2 or 3 months. Yeah. And at the end of the season, there will be an off season for 1, 2, 3 weeks, depending on how long it is this time. And there will be 2v2 and 3v3 happening. Until then, you can't play it. So that's why I said it's not a very good PvP build, because it only is good in 2 to 3 weeks normally. I mean, there are always people in competitive modes that are somewhat toxic. There are even people in PvE nowadays that are toxic, but you have to just ignore them. And I think, to be honest, there are not that many around. At least I don't encounter them. Most of the people are just ignoring all the time everything. So I don't know. It's just my opinion. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. You can also play Minion Mancer and don't care about anything. It's your game. You have to have fun. You don't have to care about the opinion of others. And if they find this build what you are playing really bad, don't care. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's, in my opinion, it's really important that you play the game as you like, as if you have fun. It's really, really nice. And in my experience, I think PvP is not that toxic anymore, or is not that toxic in that sense. There are some people that are outliers, but most of the time, it's not that crazy. Yeah, Core Necro, why not? I think it's a very slow spec, but it has some power if you play it correctly, and it's decently okay if you want to learn it. I would say it's not very good in the current meta, but if you play it for a longer time, then you might be able to swap to Condi Reaper, which is a very, very good build right now in the future. And this will help you improve for sure. If you learn Condi Necro first, Core Condi Necro, and then go for the Condi Reaper thing, which will then in the end probably be even better because it has more power. And if you already knew how to play Core Necro, it will probably help you a lot with Condi Reaper. I think it's always important that you have some kind of improvement that you could do possibly, just to learn a build and then go maybe to the next step and improve on it, maybe try something new, because it's always better to have something to focus on, to learn something, than if you would not do that. I don't know, it's just my take. I really hate that you can't open the world map from inside your homestead. I think that's such an oversight. It's so important that you could do it normally. I really dislike that. Yeah, I mean, Minion Mancer, Reaper, or just in general Minion Mancer is not a great build anymore. It's just outclassed, and I think in my opinion, yeah, it's my take, but in my opinion, it should not be good in PvP because it's just annoying to fight against. If you have AI that is trying to kill you and the real player is not really doing anything, I don't like that. I think that's a really bad design if that works really well. Yeah, I want to have a build that is skill based, so that if the enemy is better than me, wins, but if they are not better than me, they lose. Yeah, I think that should be the case, and not is the AI better than that stuff. What is the best spear main hand class? Probably Mesmer. Probably Mesmer, yeah. Mesmer is very, very good with spear. The spear is extremely strong there. Other than that, yeah, I think that's about it. I think this is the best class across all game modes if you're a new player, if you want to play spear. But never let me tell you which class you should pick. Every single spear is playable on every single class, so you should always go for the class that you enjoy the most and that you like the playstyle of, and in the end you will be completely fine and have a build that is very, very good. So, really important. Maybe Elementalist with the new buffs to Spear in the competitive modes. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I think, to be honest with the casual, the idea that you have some exploding stuff around you that passively explodes is also not very healthy. Yeah, because passively it will die in the cleave that you normally do. And then it gets really annoying because you passively proc attacks that you can't really avoid without killing the enemy. I think it's also not a very healthy playstyle. Yeah. I don't know. It's just my take. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting for sure. Yeah, I think it's also the time to end the stream. I think that's enough for today. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thanks a lot for the nice discussions we had. Hope you had some fun. Hope to see you next week. And have a nice weekend. And yeah, glad to have you here. And yeah, have a nice day. Thanks for all the follows. Be sure to check out my YouTube channel if you haven't already. We have some spicy videos coming up. Don't miss that. And yeah, thanks a lot for all your support. See you around.
Well, I can't do mine here.